Okay, let's go. Hi.
Are we in?
we are live. I think
Very good.
we should. Yeah. We are live. Okay. So I see a lot of people like in the chat right now. Hi, what's up? So
Hey,
who is there?
everyone.
Brain Goop, Kyra, Pete. Oh my god, Jason. Hey, what's up, Jason? Uzumaki, Ayo, what's up? So I'm so glad you guys had time to tune in. I know it's Monday, so Pixel Lee. Hey Lee, what's up? Rangoop, yeah, okay. Oh nice. So and already like people from Brazil.
Hey, bom dia. Bom dia todo mundo.
Turtle Shell. Oh nice. Yeah. Hey Turtle Shell. Turtle Shield, I saw you like just like half an hour ago already in the stream. I appreciate like your effort and stuff. England, oh, nice. We're so like international. Nice. Uzumaki, make my Monday better. Yeah, nice. Okay, so
We'll do our best. That's a tall order. Mondays are pretty tough.
oh yeah. So, who the hell are you, and what do you do?
People may be surprised to find that I'm not a talking bird. I am Winston Powell. I am an indie game developer. I like to call myself, at least. I try as my hardest. I am the creator of Love and Eternity, a horror adventure game. That's my first solo game endeavor. So I think most people know me by that. And that's how probably most people know me here. Yeah, I'm from Massachusetts. I went to school in Arizona. I met my beautiful wife there in Arizona. She's Brazilian. We ended up here in Brazil, living in Sao Paulo. And yeah, so shout out to Sao Paulo, which is burning right now. Very hot and dry right now. There's been no rain. So yeah, all my Brazilian friends, I hope you guys are doing okay in the heat. And the mosquitoes as well. We had a plague of mosquitoes recently, which is on brand for horror games, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like someone like performed the wrong or the right rituals. I'm not quite sure.
Oh my gosh, no! Whoever summoned the mosquitoes, they're on the bad guy side.
Oh yeah,
that is the worst. We had like an actual like swarm of them right near our house, just because there's a lot of other houses nearby.
Oh man,
yeah, there's a whole thing with like recipients of water upturned the wrong way. You know, people don't pay attention. Anyway, that's not what this is about. We're talking about video games.
Video games, yeah. So, I mean, just like jump straight into it. So, what made you become a solo developer?
Perfect. Yes. I basically went to school for game art. Or no, I actually went to school for game design because I just wanted to make games. I don't know. When you're young, you're just like, games are cool. I just want to be part of that. So I went to school for that. And then my friend was like, dude, you should just be in the art major because look at your artwork. It's great. And he was, of course, talking about like lame little doodles that I was working on at the time. So like, there's really no reason for me to switch majors. But I did anyway. So I became an artist and I focused mainly on art throughout my entire stay at the school. Became kind of a, jack of all trades as far as art's concerned. I kind of liked that leveling up of learning a new skill as I went along. So at first it was just modeling, and then it was texturing, and then animation, and then learning the game engine. So it all kind of stacked up on top of itself for the whole duration of my stay in college. And then right out of the gate, it was a tech-focused college in Arizona. Right out of the gate, I was already working on game projects with other developers, just a little indie developer sort of situation, making mobile games. And you asked like what made me want to go solo, and honestly, it is just mobile games. Like working on mobile games with other people was just not for me. And like for example, we did tests for like target audience tests to test out the game that we were working on, and of course it's like little kids coming in. And something about seeing those little kids operating their parents' tablet so like precociously kind of made me feel sick. Like these like 5-year-olds who knew the passwords to their tablets and like were just getting all around on this thing. Made me feel bad. Like maybe I'm making games for the wrong people. And so when I left Arizona, I was like, I should just learn, like at least try to learn how to make a game myself. Let's just see how far I get with that, because I'm pretty capable with computers. And like I don't want anyone to get like too impressed because I didn't learn how to program. I instead learned how to use an app or a plugin called Playmaker for Unity, which is essentially, if you're familiar with Unreal Blueprint, it's kind of like that. It's a visual scripting, node-based scripting. It's complex in its own right, but it took a while to learn. And I got confident in using Playmaker, and I was like, let me just make a game myself. Like I don't need other people like disappointing me. I know that's a cynical take, but I had a kind of tough time with other developers throughout my post-college career, especially programmers. Like it was kind of like a plague where I'd give a task or we'd have an objective and it just kept falling through and falling through and falling through. And I think with indie developers, that's a big deal because like that happens a lot, because a lot of times you can't, no one's working for anything. Like you're working for free, you're working on the side, and money will always take priority. So I guess I got impatient. I was like, I can just do this myself, like at this point. And yeah, I worked on a couple of little projects that no one's ever seen, just to kind of hone my skills in Playmaker. And yeah, once I came to Brazil, started living here, I started working on, I guess I started going to horror because I was like, I don't know, it's more punk rock. It was more rebellious. It was like, I went from making kids games and I was like, screw that. Like that's too, that's too kiddie for me. I need something a little harder to sink my teeth into. I like stuff a little spicier. I like stuff a little more bitter. And that's kind of where my heart is horror stuff. Like I'm really fascinated with horror. I love like, cinema obviously and stuff like that. And that's always kind of been a big inspiration. And yeah, so that's kind of where my trajectory went. Now I've just been kind of solo dev, just working from home ever since I graduated, really. And yeah, now just working full time, or not full time, but as much time as I can commit to this project, because I really want to see it through. Like it's a project that's really close to my heart, and yeah, hopefully I do a good job. Don't mess anything up.
I think that's like the most transparent thing about like the whole like project and the whole game is like you see and feel the passion and like the
Great.
The whole vibe is, I mean, we will dive in later a bit more like about the topic like style and such, but I think the game is super mysterious, but also like very transparent about you as a developer. And cool. I mean, there's so much like beauty in the darkness of like horror and everything like more macabre. And the funny thing is that like nowadays, especially like nowadays, like mobile gaming and such is more evil than everything else.
It's tough to look at sometimes.
Yeah.
With a non-cynical view.
Oh god, like I mean, mobile games is like the most like evil and heavily like monetized thing ever, and it's like it's a plague. And I think
I would say that about like the ocean that is mobile games is a choppy water, right? But I mean, I know there's good intentioned mobile games, like very wholesome games out there. They're not preying on, kids to use their parents' credit cards. Like there's game developers, the good ones will shine through in any market. I wouldn't want to say like the whole mobile industry is awful, but it's definitely a space that caters to that mindset better. Like it rewards people with that mindset of money, money, money. And so yeah, it gets a bad rap for sure. And yeah, I had to leave. I couldn't do it anymore. But I don't want to say anything bad about, because there are some really cool games on mobile specifically, and they do really well because they're on mobile as well.
Yeah. But I think it's like it should be a bit more like regulated because like basically like every second game on mobile feels like the biggest scam ever with misleaded marketing material and stuff, and monetization things beyond like everything like you could imagine. And yeah, but we wait, we have some stuff in the chat.
Oh, I apologize. I had to turn it off. I was too distracted. I'm a gerbil. I have or a goldfish or whatever. Kind of have like a one-track mind. I can't. So I don't know. Hopefully you can read them to me. I might pop in again just to see.
Yeah. Don't
I do
worry.
feel bad. I want.
don't worry.
I want to make sure that people feel seen.
Okay. So from Uzumaki, I have to wait. Give me a second. Uzumaki. You can have some of England's rain for the dryness.
Thank you. I'll be waiting for it.
Yeah, please send it, express ship it with Prime or something like that. All the water.
Very much needed. The mountain was literally on fire last week. There's like a huge fire taking over the mountain. Yeah.
So it's canon that you live in basically in hell.
Yeah, exactly.
But in a good way. So okay.
It's cool to see the fires in taking over the jungles or whatever. Like it's an interesting sight, but it's definitely scary.
Oh man. Wait. Also, Uzumaki, sorry for the mosquitoes. I didn't mean to. I was trying to make microwave popcorn. Okay.
He's responsible for all of it. I kind of had a feeling actually that it was one being's responsibility.
Yeah,
now we know tricks on old Brazil.
Oh yeah, respect. I mean, yeah, the effort. Engineer Kant, what do you think about Unreal 5? Is there anything new for the old school genre? So, what do you think about Unreal 5?
Yeah, that's a cool question, because Unreal, ever since Unity's faux pas or whatever they want to call it over there, they dropped the ball big time, and they put the ball right in Unreal's court. And I think a lot of indie developers are going to be looking at Unreal. And yeah, Unreal it's the industry standard. Everything you need is there. It's a big package. It's a big boy. I just think it has everything there for everyone. And the only con to that is you're going to have a lot of space taken up on your computer by the engine itself. But I mean, the games you export are going to be the same whether you make them in GDOT or Unreal or Unity or whatever program in RPG Maker. It's still going to be the same game you made. So I wouldn't say I'm not really in the boat of being like Unity is better than Unreal, Unreal is better than Unity. They're just different tools, and any creator can take any tool and make something cool out of it. So, but that being said, Unreal is an interesting topic for lo-fi, low poly, retro style games, because it would sort of lend itself to one of the philosophies of my project, or just what I like to do with my game projects, is taking the low poly aesthetic with low graphics fidelity and low textures and stuff, and just running it through post processes galore. No retro game had volumetric lighting. No retro game had tone mapping or color correction or color grading, bloom, or any of that stuff. Depth of field, all those different tricks and treats. But when you do put them together, it has a cool effect. You get a really interesting, you can have your low poly game and have it look modern and really cool, running it through all those post-processing effects. And the lighting engine inside Unreal is kind of unparalleled as far as mainstream engines are concerned. So you couldn't do any better really as an indie developer by making your indie low poly whatever game in Unreal, because right out of the gate you have all these cool post processes that immediately make your game kind of shine in that uncanny realistic way, where you have your ambient occlusion already all set, you have color grading, you have fancy lighting, and the engine is just a beast. Like it just runs whatever. So you can have a low experience level kind of like just throwing things into the engine without worrying too much about optimization, and the engine just can handle it, like it handles millions and billions of polygons or whatever. So yeah, it'd be freeing if you could be an indie dev in that situation working in Unreal. So yeah, and just the fact that like I think the bar to entry is just it's free for most developers. Yeah, so I think that there's no reason to use it now. Like I started my game in Unity already, so I'm kind of stuck there. I'm not being super technically minded. I'm not really in the position to port my game to a different engine or a different version of the engine. But if you're just getting started, just go right in there and do Unreal. Like why not? It's fully facilitating everyone to make a game. Like there's no reason not to use it. Just like Unity would be as well. But Unreal is the industry standard now. Like AAA games are using Unreal. Indie developers are using Unreal. There's really no reason not to at least dip your hand in there, get some experience making levels and stuff. So yeah, Unreal, very cool. I think I'm on the fence on if my next game will be in Unreal. Because I really do like Unity. I really do like Playmaker. And I feel like I'm able to achieve the look that I'm after fine in Unity. Like my Unity, it's Unity 5. It's like 15 years old or whatever, however old, right? From 2015, I think.
Whoa.
It's like 10 years old software that I'm using. And I feel like I'm still pretty comfortable with the fidelity, like the visual look of it. So
yeah,
I'm not afraid of using it again, but considering the situation with Unity, I'm considering switching to Unreal for the second game, like for the next project.
Yeah. I think also like I see within our like little niche community a lot of like people that are a bit too fixated on and focused on achieving accurate like style and rendering results and stuff like that. I think we are in an interesting space. We have like our technology and our tools are way more advanced than we need it for. And
yeah.
I think we through that we achieve like a nice in between. So I think we capture, it's all about capturing the idea of how we like remember old games, I think. So
yeah, rose tinted glasses.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that should be the goal. And because like wasting a lot of time on like nitty gritty, like, oh, that rendering technique is not like accurate, blah 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 blah. Well, actually. By the way, if someone of you guys are in the chat that like especially at the start when I started out with YouTube and they used like the term PS1 style, I got a lot of like hate emails about how wrong I am and that's not accurate and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen my fair share of that as well.
yeah, that's also the reason why I left like Reddit and stuff, because like Reddit was
Bummer Town. I can imagine Reddit getting pretty tough.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing though, is like there's room for, like, I'm very much a middling type of person. Like I wouldn't say one way or the other if something's right or wrong anyway. But like people who do achieve that look, a PS2 accurate, or even a PS1, or even a game that actually will run on the PS1, like there's something there for someone, right? Like that's a viable thing. Like even if it's just a passion project, one person wants to make. Well, yeah, I think what a lot of people find nicer looking, more appealing, more marketable, just nicer, is what kind of you said, is like the rose tinted goggles, the like, well, how we remember the feeling that we got when we played those games, because it wasn't the same feeling that we get when we play those games now, or when a new person now plays a PS1 game. They're gonna get kind of a cold, maybe like they might be a little charmed by how simple it is, but they're definitely not going to be immersed like we were when we grew up with those games. But if we can convey that feeling to new players using a similar style, that's kind of the trick. And yeah, people have definitely called me out being like, is this really low poly? Is this really PS1? It's like, no, of course not. This would never ever, this barely runs on my laptop. Like, it's pushing limits there that are definitely not possible outside of like modern technology. And there's no need to necessarily in my case, but some other people, if they want to do that, then that's cool too. I respect that. That's fun to see when people can emulate that style. But I'm more like when I get a hint of it somewhere, it's like the Quentin Tarantino style. His movies are modern movies, but there's little things. There's like the little cigarette burns in the corner every once in a while, like little hints that remind you of old movies from the 70s or whatever. And that's all that it is. But the movie itself is modern, fast-paced, modern music. Like it doesn't look like an old movie. It looks like a modern movie, like in that styling of an older movie. It's totally the like romanticized memory of those older things, like repackaged. And yeah, like I just love working with color. So to make my game too authentic would mean sacrificing like, 16 bits of color that I want. I want those remaining 16 bits.
Oh yeah,
I want all my bits.
Oh man, I mean, the game would be, to be honest, like so much more boring looking without like that fidelity and that vibe. And I see a lot of like I really like laughed when I grew up like collecting comics and stuff like that. And I was also really into pulp comics. So horror comics and stuff like that. And they used really like vibrant colors, especially for the covers, like neon color and lighting techniques. To catch your eye when you're in the magazine store or in the comic book store to grab an issue and stuff like that. Yeah,
give it a chance.
Yeah, my
Outlaw
would
give it a chance though.
Yeah, exactly, and I think like that's also something that speaks for you and stuff. And okay, back to the chat. My Outlaw. I have to say, like, shout out to you, Outlaw. You are one of the most like consistent like viewer ever, to be honest. So, head up and yeehaw. Vanny, have you been to BGS event in Brazil with the game?
Oh, I have not. I was almost going to do it this year. It's already passed, I believe.
Okay.
I'm really hurting for cash. And so like, even though it's not that expensive to go there, it was more expensive than another event that my friend found. There's going to be it's a free event you can just get into, I believe.
Nice.
It's more of an indie-centric one. It is in Sao Paulo. I guess I could bring it up. Let me see if I can find. I'll never be able to find it. I'm too like distracted. There's going to be an event. I will be there. It's an indie event in Sao Paulo. It's on the 7th. It's on the 6th to the 7th. So if you know which one I'm talking about, I can't remember the name. It's all in Portuguese. Okay. But if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, and you can see the game there. But my friend always urged me to go to conventions and stuff while I was here, and I always felt like my product wasn't there yet to show off, especially the prior big event. I was just too humiliated to like go there and show my game off, because it wasn't there yet. And I think that feeling is going to persist for me, just because maybe that's just the way I am. I'm never really that proud of it until it's done, so I think it's going to be tough for me to show it off. But my friend, he's been urging me, but we're going to go to Sao Paulo together. I think it's next week. Go to that event. And yeah, maybe I'll show it off. Maybe I'll just be there to hang out and socialize. There's also the language barrier that I was dealing with, for my first couple years here. now I'm more comfortable. I feel like I can interact with people just fine.
Okay.
And so now there's more value there for me to go. But no, I haven't been to the big event yet. It's now been changed to Gamescom, actually, I think, because they bought it. So now it's Gamescom Brazil.
Oh,
is that right? Gamescom? Maybe I'm getting it mixed up.
Interesting.
It's the one that used to be in Germany, right?
Yeah,
Is that the German
okay.
one? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. So now that's Gamescom Brazil, and
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to change about it, but it's got a new name. So
Yeah.
maybe next year I'll go to big. Maybe I'll be in a better place next year. So
Nice.
we'll see.
But I mean, it's very like understandable. Like you want to be like ready when you are like there and stuff. And I guess it's also like difficult to be like a bird and stuff. And yeah,
it makes it tough. It makes it tough to be a bird with a human skull face.
Yeah,
because I don't fit in either with the humans or with the birds, so it doesn't work out.
Okay, so it's canon. It's canon now. Okay.
I guess so, now I made that in like an hour right after you asked me to do it. But now if it's gonna stick, I guess there's nothing I could do about it.
Yeah, now it's your
bird forever.
Yeah, forever bird. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Pixel Dominus. I recently found about the game. Found out about the game. Cool stuff. So, someone like just found your game. Pixel Dominus just found your game for the first time.
Cool. Yeah, that's always nice to hear. Because I mean, I'm not a great promoter of the product, like on Twitter and stuff. I have done a push recently to start getting the word out there. And yeah, a lot of new people are seeing it for sure, and that's been exciting because I like reaching people that way. That's kind of like what motivates me is hearing comments from people where they say maybe they were inspired by just the way one of my videos looked, or maybe the entire demo or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great to hear. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you found it. Hope you enjoyed it.
From Slider, can you speak Russian?
Me or you?
I guess you.
No Russian.
So,
sorry.
My stepmom is from Russia, and there was a little talk about if we should like learn Russian, or I should like learn Russian. But she was like, "No, I don't want you to learn Russian. We are not in Russia, so don't learn Russian."
Oh, I see. It would be tough to learn outside of Russia, honestly.
Yeah,
but,
I think
are
that
you
was like yeah. I don't know.
I was going to ask, do you learn languages, or because you know English obviously very well, and you probably speak your native language. Do you tend to learn other languages from Europe as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of I pick up a lot of words and stuff, but overall I don't like speak fluently like a different language. I mean, I understand like a lot of from like Swiss or like from the Netherlands and stuff, because like our languages are so compatible. And yeah, but yeah, I also like I just started learning Portuguese because because I saw I just like my YouTube analytics, like number one is like the States, but number two is like Brazil. And then I started to like, do research and stuff about why Brazil is like so interested in my stuff and so on.
Yeah,
and
Brazil's an interesting case as far as the gaming industry for sure.
Exactly,
such an interesting part of the world.
And Brazil is like so strong. Like Brazil is so strong about like gaming culture, and they had to fight for so many like things to happen in and come to like Brazil and stuff. And we will talk about that in a second, because that will lead into my next like question. But
sure.
Okay, we still have to Brain Goop, what inspired you to start creating?
Yeesh, like overall. Is that a question
like,
for me or you? Now I'm confused.
No, for you. They are here for you, man.
I'm curious. I'd like to, maybe we can just chat later, but I'm kind of curious about all your stuff too. But I guess we can save that.
Yeah.
Me creating just in general, I think, is something that always came naturally to me. I was always creative, drawing specifically. inventing stories. I guess I'm guilty of fan fiction because me and my friend loved The Road to El Dorado so much we made a fan fiction, like a sequel, which is weird. Like we were in like 3rd grade or something making this, like just making ourselves laugh at because we loved that movie. I love that movie. I stand by that movie.
Oh man, I totally like understand the fan fiction and like.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like, let's don't like start.
What did you
do? Let's don't start.
What did you do?
I actually like I made when I got like a 3D printer. The first character I 3D modeled was like, how was her name? From The Road to El Dorado.
Chell.
Chell, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The first character I made, and because I was like, oh, I like those thick anime girl figures and stuff. I want something like that from Cell. So
that's a spicy 3D print.
yeah.
That's a curvy 3D print.
Yeah, let's not like talk about like the topic now. Let's
It
stay
wasn't
professional.
fanfiction. In my defense, it wasn't fan fiction about, because we were too young to be like getting the kind of, because she is depicted as kind of she's a bit of a femme fatale in that movie, and she also kind of hooks up with Tulio in that movie, which like we didn't pick up on that when I was a kid. So we were just making funny like things biting more things in the butt, like in the movie.
Yeah.
Like instead of the horse biting him in the butt, what if crabs bit him in the butt? That was kind of where we were at. But that's pretty funny.
Also, like The Road to El Dorado was like so huge in, I think, especially like back then. The adventure genre was way bigger than now, in my opinion. Like with Atlantis, and The Road to El Dorado and Treasure Planet and so on and so forth.
Oh, totally. Oh, that's such a great era of animations.
Exactly. And like adventure, just like going on adventures, experience like adventures and stuff. And
I've always liked like change of scenery stuff, like Avatar: The Last Airbender is a series that comes to mind where like every episode is a different setting. So seeing like grand adventures like that is kind of ingrained in me. Like I love seeing stuff like that.
Yeah,
sure,
man. Okay. Lately, exactly. So that's a bit too late, I think. So super fluos. I'm not sure how to like pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. I'm like not a big reader. Advice when going to Brazil. Any advice? Like one.
All right, I guess I'll
fact or something like that.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it a little shorter because I'm sure I could make a YouTube series about all the Brazilian things. For like a quick visit, if you're visiting for a couple weeks or something. Sheesh, I haven't been in that position in so long. Advice, honestly, it was such a nice like. I came here so comfy, like I was so welcome. Brazilian people are so welcoming. They're very tactile, like physically endearing, right? Like they'll hug you, and they have that that tradition of kissing on the cheek when they meet someone, which was like just tragic to see go away during the pandemic and after the pandemic. But it's coming back, like it's back now, which is just the most adorable thing. Is just that's something that's part of the culture. Advice, man, is just try the food, try the fruit. There's anywhere you go, you can get fresh orange juice, like fresh squeezed orange juice. Even if you go to McDonald's, I think in some places you can just get fresh squeezed juice. Definitely go in on that stuff. Other advice, though, it's tough to say because it's such a like easygoing place to visit. I would just say don't accept too much help from people helping you park your vehicle because they'll kind of give you trouble and ask for money helping you leave. And like if it's an old man, like it's usually just someone who's retired who's helping people park for the heck of it. But sometimes if it's a youngster with like a reflective vest on, maybe don't make eye contact or make too much conversation. That's not a rule, obviously, but you'll be a little better off just kind of parking your car or maybe finding a different place and parking your car without interacting with those types of people. We call them flanelinhas, and that just means that's just what they call the rag that they clean your window with is a flanelinha. And I mean, maybe I'm being rude or something, but I think it's generally the consensus that those people are a bit annoying. So just watch out for them. Other than that, though, like Brazil is such a great place. I urge everyone who can to visit. Like it's been so cool here. The culture is just really endearing. The food is amazing. Try the churrasco. Try all the meat. All the food is great. Even if you get like a buffet, it's just always well made food.
Oh man!
Short of fast food restaurants, but it's always just well made, well prepared. I don't know.
man.
Even mall food. Like I want to take pictures of my mall food because it's just like the plates are beautiful. That doesn't happen in the United States. You get a plate at the mall and you want to eat it as fast as you can to hide it from other people. But here it's like you get these beautiful plates of beef and a nice salad and rice and beans and farofa. I don't know. People maybe know in the chat what farofa is. I don't love it, but it's just something to have on your beans and rice to make it a little more salty, I guess, and crispy. Yeah, man. I don't honestly for advice. Just come here. That's the advice. Just come here and have fun.
But that's actually like good advice. So I think like just like be ready for an adventure, I guess.
Yeah, and like most people speak English. If you're an English speaker, a lot of people speak English. There's also if you're Japanese for some reason. I don't know how many people are Japanese in chat, but there's a large Japanese community here in especially in Sao Paulo, where you might find people speaking Japanese, and it's a boiling pot, it's a mixing pot like the United States as well. So there's a lot of different cultures, a lot of Chinese people, a lot of Italian people. So it's just very welcoming, especially if you're an American. People love Americans here. It's very easy to be an American in Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe just learn the exchange rate for cash. That's a good advice. Just learn the exchange rate for cash. So you don't get screwed over by people.
Oh.
It's just a good something for any trip going anywhere, because people love to scam people that way.
Yeah, that's actually like super like nice advice. Okay. Ray Fox, nice. You also like one of my guys. We out here for our boys. Let's go, man.
Nice.
Always so positive.
The StarCraft boys.
Yeah. Sounds like a very crappy
nice.
boy band.
The StarCraft boys. Yeah.
Okay, so your commander, creepypasta, yeah. Man, creepypasta is like, it's also like such a huge thing of the like last few generations of like childhood and stuff like that. So horror is so present in childhood, I think, because back for me it was like comics and Goosebumps and like movies and stuff. But now with the internet, like a whole different layer of like horror media comes at you and stuff like that. So yeah,
I love finding out about all the I love the generational gap, because I'm getting older now, and you look and see what gamers are doing now, like younger kids.
Yeah,
and they have such a horror element ingrained in that culture, like with the Five Nights at Freddy. Even Among Us is like kind of a sci-fi horror in the vein of like Alien, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally there. And yeah, creepypasta, just, reaction videos on YouTube of people playing scary indie games. That's like, that's kind of where indie games got their traction in the last couple, at least in the last decade maybe, is those like reaction videos. It's people like looking for the next big scary indie game with jump scares and stuff.
Yeah.
That's super cool, for sure.
I think it's kind of funny because in my personal like opinion, like horror from like media and stuff is more present. But back in my childhood, like in Austria, we have also like a lot of like holidays related to horror stuff and so on.
Really?
For example, we have to Christmas time we have like Santa Claus and stuff. And before that, we have Krampus.
Oh, the Krampus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
I know about that guy.
And we have like whole, it's called Pertenlauf. So it's basically the run of the campus, and there's like a whole like horde of, or like a whole horde of campus and demons and stuff like that, and they're running through the village from the top of the mountain down and beating everyone up with sticks and stuff like that.
Oh my God.
And I think it was a bit too like controversial, I think.
Yeah, beating children is a bit controversial.
Yeah, because like back in the day it was like also all the people used to get fucking drunk, so extremely like fucked up, and then they
so
put
they would
on
chase
like
around kids.
exactly like because like the bodysuits were made out of like sheepskin and wool and stuff like that.
Wow,
and
I'm about to send me pictures of that.
Yeah, I would love to.
That sounds awesome.
And wooden like demon masks and like something like that. So like with horns and skulls and so on. So I a lot of like influences from I had a lot of like influences from.
I remember there being I heard about in that part of the world in Austria, Germany, there being a lot of like fear tactics employed to keep kids kind of in line. I remember a comedian or something was talking about that sort of thing. Yeah. That sounds very telling of like of that culture.
Yeah. Because
corporal
like
punishment or fear tactics.
Because like back in my the thing is like I have a very close connection to like Krampus and stuff. And I think like the basic idea of like stuff like that with Krampus is very close related to church communities and stuff like that. Because it's actually like back from the old tribes and stuff like that, and it carried on into Christianity inside of Austria. So it's not related to church, but they like thought it was a good idea to like carry on to beat up children and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, church, Christianity, and Catholicism go hand in hand with the corporal punishment for sure. Like that's kind of
But I mean, one time was pretty funny. There was like, because like my grandpa is used to make the campus costumes, like in the traditional like sense, like the demon costumes and stuff like that. So I knew all the campus people inside the suits. And so I had kind of a immunity for like getting beat up and stuff like that. And,
really?
But
I could see how that could go the other way too, where you see your loved ones transformed into monsters, and that could kind of like detach you.
No,
but I'm glad you went the other way with it.
Actually, like I think the only thing about like my church community and stuff like that remains, and I'm still like love to think about is like all that hellish aspect of it and the demons. Because that was like metal as fuck and stuff like that. And
there's definitely some cool imagery there.
Yeah, and actually there was like one boy that bullied me in school, and like the campus guys told me just stand next to him so we know who it is. And then they put him into a bag and stuff like that, and they carried him around, and then they threw him. Yeah. And
that is insane.
Yeah, it was like
I love that.
I'm pretty sure he still like goes to therapy about it. I'm pretty sure.
And I was in the bag for I don't know how long, and I just heard screaming. Yeah, that is insane. So do they still do that? Did they stop doing that recently?
No, I think like the current generation of children is a bit too sensitive for that. I think
a little softer. Yeah, I think we're on the tail end of that. Like.
No,
the kids going out to see dead bodies in the woods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't happen anymore.
What a great time. I mean, yeah. But yeah, I also like the second half of my childhood was inside of a nature reservoir. And so I saw a lot of like dead animals just like by walking by and stuff like that. And so, I mean, for some fucking reason, this interview turned into a therapy session. So I'm sorry. Let's circle back.
I like just chatting. I think people like just chatting. They like hanging out. The vibes, it's just chill, easygoing vibes. But we can do questions again. I hate to leave them hanging in the comments there.
Okay. Oh, we actually have a pretty like deep Okay, wait. First up, Pixel Dominus. Germany is metal as heck. I'm from Austria. That's that's a bit offensive, but it's fine. Okay. And yeah,
Well, they're both metal as heck.
yeah. Thank you.
It just depends on if they made metal into tanks or made metal into bats for the children. There must have been some Krampus stuff going on in Germany too, though, right?
Yeah.
Or
It's
was
like
that just Austrian?
no. It's like the whole of like Middle Europe is like specked with shit like that. And actually, like overseas, like in America, the whole like the base of the Krampus tradition turned into Halloween and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So it's like I think there's even an festival holiday before that, but it's basically like it's the same route as Halloween, because the basic idea of it is like to scare the ghosts and the ghosts that don't want to move on, and like scare the evil spirits and demons before we can like enjoy Christmas in like peace and shit.
Enjoy a pure peaceful time. You gotta scare away grandpa.
And exactly, and that's the reason why you have to become like a demon and beat children so they behave well and don't like attract evil spirits and shit. Anyway,
who knew the evil spirits were so afraid of sexy cat costumes?
Exactly.
Who knew?
Okay. Esroix. Oh my god. I'm so sorry
You're
about
on your own. I'm sorry. I wish I could help you pronounce it. I'm too distracted by the phone to like pay attention to both the interview and the comments. I'm just not a very good interviewee.
It's fine. It's fine. You're getting interviewed. So there's actually like a very deep question. Does the success of your demo put pressure on you to live up to the expectations of the full game, like Imposter Syndrome and shit?
No way. I don't see it as a success. Have you read the comments? No, I've been feeling really bad about the demo for a while. I've been feeling,
really. You're kidding?
Self-conscious about it. No, yeah. I mean, people obviously are attracted to it. Like I get a lot of followers and people are always sharing the content. But when I go to the comments on itch and read the issues people have with it and the things that I almost can't help about the game, I feel very self-conscious about that. And that's why I did a re-release of the demo, because I have the first demo, which was the original one. I made a new one, and then that's when the bad comments started coming. Not bad, criticism. And then so I felt really bad about myself, and so I had to kind of revise it with putting enemies in it and adding some more set pieces and touching things up here and there. And I haven't looked at the comments since. I'm too afraid. So yeah, short answer, no Imposter Syndrome. I think I'm going to feel anxious about the product until it's been released, until I'm done with it. Because in my subconscious, for some reason, I don't have anything to be proud of until it's done for some reason. And I've talked about this with my wife before. And I think it's just as simple as a subconscious tick that I have, where it's just, if I haven't finished it to my standards, which is like releasing it, publishing it, having it on the market, I won't be satisfied until it happens, unfortunately. So like the nice comments keep me going for real.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the bad comments, they really hit me hard. So I tend not to read the comments in itch. I know they're trying to be constructive, obviously, and I used a lot of their feedback in the revision of the demo. So yeah, but at the same time, it's all stuff that I kind of knew about. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't have changed it if I didn't get pushed to change it. So I think it's all for the better. It's just an emotional roller coaster the whole way through.
So I mean, first up, I totally like get the negatives way sometimes like heavier than the positives, but so that's like, please, people in the comments, please throw all the love you can like at him and stuff like that. I mean,
well, I like criticism too. I like healthy conversation. Like if you have something you want me to change about the game or something I didn't see, but yeah, keep it kind of like you're dealing with a little tender child over here. I'm a sensitive artist. I can take criticism. I take it and I run with it.
A sensitive little birdie.
a little emotional intelligence from this little bird here.
Yeah.
Like I might look scary, but inside I'm just a little tender bird.
Oh man.
Like my wife actually put it very poignantly in her infinite wisdom. She said, nice comments, you have to put the glue on them for them to stick, right? The negative comments, they come with glue already. Like if you're talking about sticky notes, right? So
Yeah.
I thought that was very what.
Did
I say that right?
Yeah.
The negative
I mean,
comments come with glue. The positive comments, you have to put the glue. That's what I meant. So they come pre-glued on. They come pre-hurtful.
That's
impactful.
super
And
deep.
then the nice ones you have to pay attention to, and really, because I get so many good comments, especially on Twitter and stuff.
Mhm.
But that one guy who retweeted it and was like, "This awful, like whatever," that's what sticks with me. But at the same time, that's what helps me change the game for the better. But it still hurts. Still feels bad.
Understandable. So, yeah, Ezra, that's like brilliant like question. So thank you for the question, man.
Thank you. Yes.
So, Pixel Dominus. You Acron, Acon, like the like the musician. You Acron have some tips for solo devs to not get too distracted, or also like, sorry about the last comment. Don't worry about it, man. It's not like that. But yeah,
Oh, no.
any tips on like not getting distracted as like solo dev?
Man, yeah, getting distracted is tough. Especially nowadays, like distraction, people are even like, they're even attributing it to some kind of millennial disease or something, like how distracted we are. We can't pay attention to anything. We need movies that are an hour and a half long that are always throwing colors at us to keep us stimulated. That's something I don't have an answer to specifically, but as far as just work ethic and trying to keep focused on your project, as an indie developer, I think a lot of people, they naturally don't have a lot of time to work. And so they have their day job and then they come back tired, unable to work on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the main distraction point. That's when it's like, it's easier just to flick YouTube on and wait until I get sleepy and go to bed. And that's where you can waste some very valuable hours where you could be spending working on your passion project. So as far as that's concerned, it's going to be different for everyone. But for me, what helps is just having a schedule. I found that for myself personally, if I set a time to do something, I will do it. I'll do something, or at the very least, my mind will be occupied with that thing during that time. Because you can't always work. Like I said, it's kind of a part-time. It's always going to be a part-time thing until you can sustain yourself on the work itself, especially when you're getting started. So it's important to find that time that works for you after your job, and commit to that at least mentally. If you can't physically sit down and work, at least get a notebook out and write down some thoughts, or at least touch on the project in that brief moment. Because energy obviously is nothing you can eat better, you can exercise, you can do yoga, all that stuff to get more energy for your day. But a lot of times when you're done with work, you're just tired, especially when you work at the computer. Like, I don't want to see the computer when I'm done working. So like working on the game after that is tough. But that's where distractions for me start, is just like, I'm sick of the computer. I'm going to zone out in front of the TV or something, or just go outside or whatever. I say that, but I lie. I don't really go outside that often. But like, take care of the garden, water the plants and stuff. What else could distract people? I know people are very distracted by their phones nowadays and social media. A good tip for that is to literally unplug. Like, my laptop runs off of a wired connection to the internet. And I've found that as soon as I unplug that, or I just turn off the internet, this like weird buzzing in my head stops, and I can focus way better on working in Unity or something than if I was online. Because when I'm online, I'm thinking about what playlist am I going to put on, what's going on social media. Like, you have this buzzing happening in your brain when you have the option to be distracted. So if you literally just unplug from the internet, go back to the 1990s when we didn't have great internet, or we weren't always working on the internet. Just turn that off, and you might be surprised to find that weird nagging or buzzing in the back of your head to do something else stops, because there's no expectation anymore. You're wholly focused on just the product that you're working on. Yeah, that's the best I got for now. Hopefully that's nice.
That's like perfect answer, I think. Like, yeah. Pixel Dominus, like
I do
great
get distracted
question.
myself, so I'm not yeah, thank you for the comment.
It's a curse. It's a curse, but I mean, like, just unplugging and like trying to get like offline and do something analog, like watering the plants and stuff. Sounds like a nice idea. And just like 3 new people joined the chat.
Welcome.
7CD, hi, what's up? And Tester Channel says hi. And Jason, hi,
hello.
What's up? Okay, I think we can. I think a very like big question that like lurks in the room is what's like your perspective on the gaming culture in Brazil? So how is it to get like games and hardware and consoles and also like community aspects? I mean, we already like attacked a few parts of that question.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say like I'm very knowledgeable about the culture itself because I haven't been living here. Like my wife, she obviously been living here her whole life. She has more stories to tell than I do, obviously. As a visitor or as an expat just coming here, one of the things that stood out to me was the kind of a silent agreement that we're gonna be selling pirated games and parallel hardware. It's just kind of like an accepted secret that everyone knows, sort of thing. So like I could go to the market and it's like I don't know. I guess you could equate it to, I don't know. It's kind of like a little mall. But in there's a video game shop, and in there are just Xbox 360 games, like pirate, just like copied discs, just hundreds of them all packaged in there, and they're selling those. Xbox 360 is very popular here still because the games are so accessible in that way. Like games for Xbox 360 are easy to burn to discs and just sell. At the same time, there's
interesting.
Oh yeah,
man.
Yeah, I mean,
so all the older systems are still like totally up to date.
Oh, it goes deeper than just 360. Like people are still playing Sega here.
What?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you can still find Sega games, retro games. I mean, it's obviously still a commodity because it is older stuff, and older stuff just gets distributed and diluted. But people buy it up, and it goes wherever. But yeah, you can still buy like. I'm not very versed in emulation and stuff like that, but you can get like a cartridge with like 100 games on it, and then you can play those. That sort of thing is pretty common. Again, it's another form of pirating. And that sort of thing is very accessible. And I think, I'm not an expert about this, but from what I've picked up, it is driven by the fact that the market was never fully explored by game publishers in the past, especially, I think primarily Nintendo. They didn't sell their consoles here in Brazil, I believe. And so that kind of left a big empty space in the market for a long time where people, like obviously kids wanted to play games back then when the NES was huge, but it was so inaccessible or prohibitively expensive back then, to the point where like people had to find other means of just gaming. And that usually came in the form of Sega and pirated ROM games or whatever, like pirated cartridges and stuff like that. And so yeah, a common thing is those like big packs of hundreds of games where you can just find, you can just play your weird pirated version of Super Mario Brothers with modded assets and stuff or whatever, repackaged. And I actually think there's even like soda companies that rebranded Mario ROMs to look like their characters. There's something about the modding that I think.
What?
But yeah, very much Wild West type thing.
Oh man,
yeah.
That's so. What? It's basically like Mad Max for the gaming industry. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, people love games here. Like you said, you said before, your like metrics were showing a huge like interest in South America and Brazil specifically. And it's because it is South America. It is literally the same sized country pretty much, but people don't pay as much attention to it because, you know, there's all sorts of politics and economy that are involved with that, unfortunately. It was never seen as a viable market, and I don't know what it is nowadays, but you can still buy, like, you can buy modern consoles here, but it's pretty expensive. I'm surprised that there are people who own PS4, PS5, because not even I can buy that. It's cheaper to just fly to the US and buy it there and fly it back. Like, that's how tough it is.
Oh man. Whoa.
You can't import stuff. Like, importing is restricted here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, most of my friends here, most of my wife's friends are gamers or nerds of some kind, and they have, you know, they've been playing what's it? Yeah, just the latest PS4, I don't know if anyone has PS5, but at least PS4 people are having, and they're playing God of War and stuff like that. And
I also, like, I have to be honest, I may know one person in my like surrounding that owns a PS5 or something like that. So
I imagine it's pretty tough in most places.
Yeah. And I think
more accessible in the States and in Japan and stuff. But
yeah,
it is a weird console because of how expensive it came out to be. But yeah, PS4 you can find here. Funny enough, the PS4 is more expensive than the PS5, and all I want is the PS4. So I haven't bought it yet. Because there's no demand now. The demand is in the PS5 now. So yeah, from what I can tell, as far as modern systems and stuff, it's there. You can buy it. Sony, I think, have a distribution platform here in South America, in Brazil. So you can buy stuff made in Brazil that's Sony. That's like a legit Sony product. Like, I have a PS4 controller that I bought. You can buy, I don't know. I don't know how big that enterprise is here, but it is now accessible. I don't know how accessible Sony products were here before, but you see it all the time. Sony, and I actually don't know how much. I think you can still buy Xbox, the newer Xbox stuff too. I'm such a PC gamer now, though, so I think a lot of people in a similar camp are like, I could just buy a PC and get Steam and get a bunch of games on there, or you know, those other PC gaming platforms are way cheaper if you think about it, like, compared to getting a console and buying games.
There is actually like a question from Lit Lee. Will the game primarily be on PC, or do you think about other platforms?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to launch it everywhere, right? Just so it's totally acceptable. But just because it's on such an old version of Unity, I only have the dev kit to release on PS3, Xbox 360, and you know, like those old systems, like built in. I'd have to do some kind of porting or importing of plugins, or I'd have to look into it to actually get it on modern consoles. Right now, it's not my focus at all. Like, I don't even want to think about it right now. I know that there's a huge market on Switch for that sort of thing. It would be great to put on Switch. But right now it's PC, Mac, and Linux. You can play it on the Steam Deck, I've been told. And yeah, that's my focus right now, just because I don't have the resources to... Like, I don't even have a way to test it on Mac and Linux. Like, I don't know if it works on those consoles or those systems. I take it on faith that it's working. I can only test on my PC, on my Windows PC. Yeah, so we're going to have to see. If I was going to launch it on console, it would be because I found a publisher who I agreed with, and we were going to do all sorts of the bells and whistles that come with that, like all kinds of localization and everything like that. But with my workflow right now, my pipeline is just me, solo dev, learning as I go. There's no way for me to do that right now, unfortunately. But I'd like to think that the game isn't super heavy. So if you have, like, my computer, I bought it in 2017. It's got a GTX 1060. You know, it's an old thing. It runs the game fine. So I don't know. I know people have just like MacBooks or like Chromebooks or whatever. That's not going to run it. But I'd like to think that it's pretty accessible for PC gamers who don't necessarily have like a crazy recent rig or anything. So I'm trying to keep it optimized as much as I can.
I really need to tell you, like, I played it. I played the first demo like on PC back then, like I think a year ago or something like that. But the recent like demo I tried on my Steam Deck, And
Oh, cool.
I really like, as a handheld like game, it feels a bit like different, but it also like feels more like, it reminded me a lot of my time back then with my like PSP and stuff like that. So
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
cool.
So it's really like nostalgic. For some reason, I feel nostalgia for the game, even though it's just a
Interesting.
demo and it's actually like a new game. But I mean,
Wow,
really
that's
keep
cool.
the Steam Deck on your radar. So like the Linux version should be
Yeah, I mean,
fine, but the like, because I really recently felt in love with like the Steam Deck and such. And yeah.
cool. Yeah, the Steam Deck is something I learned about. I didn't release it with the Steam Deck in mind at all. It's just someone was like, "It works on Steam Deck." By the way, I was like, "That's cool." I don't know how that
Yeah.
works, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I
that's
think
awesome. I
basically
wonder
if it's compatible with like Linux, it's compatible with like the Steam Deck and done.
good to know it's working, man. Because I honestly have no way to tell other than hearsay, like people telling me it's working. That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, actually, now that you mentioned the PSP, the PSP had like most of the games didn't have anti-aliasing or anything, so the games ended
Oh,
up
yeah.
looking very crispy. So I
Yeah.
wonder if maybe that's kind of where you're getting that vibe from, because all the
Oh,
games
yeah, that
then
could
were
be.
so crispy on, yeah, very very jaggy and crispy and crisp looking. So I can
Yeah.
imagine the game looking like that as well. It's kind of where the art direction comes in.
Oh, okay. We have back to the chat. We have in the chat from the pursuer. We have some questions of Portuguese. So I
Oh,
mean,
cool.
if you,
Oh man, should I look at those? Let me see.
yeah,
If I
please
can.
maybe jump in and like check out the last few comments from the pursuer.
Tem referências ao Brasil no jogo? Referências. He's saying, are there references of Brazil in the game? I believe that's what he's saying. um, sheesh, man. I mean, I did start the game in Brazil.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. I'm from Massachusetts, so there's a lot of Massachusetts in the game. Even though it's a medieval setting, it's
Yeah.
gonna be very like Halloween, you know, like that
Mhm.
vibe with the forests being all, you know, late fall season. The colors, you know, kind of reminiscent of Halloween with the vibrant neon colors and stuff. Man, it's tough to say if Brazil has influenced me at all, or if there's any references about Brazil in the game.
Maybe you should put
That might be
some
something.
in.
That might be something that comes about. Like when I release the game and I look back and I'm like, you know what, that might have been, because I'm only now realizing after watching some childhood movies or playing some of my childhood favorite games, I'm like, man, for example, Maximo on the PS2. I just finished playing that again because it's a great game. Everyone should play it. And I'm like, you know what? This is basically Of Love and Eternity because you die, you enter a castle in the cinematic. Maximo runs in the castle. The king is with the princess. The king like hits the princess or something. Maximo's killed. He meets the Grim Reaper in the afterlife. He's like floating in space. And then he's in like this weird underworld version of the world fighting skeletons. And I'm like, man, that's so on the nose. I could have never guessed that that's where that came from. But it seems like I copied Maximo and I didn't mean to. But yeah, it might be a case where like I think back years later and like, you know what? Brazil maybe inspired some of these choices that I made. And that's really what it comes down to is like, the minuscule choices that you make while you work, it's all influenced by your experiences, whether you know it or not.
True.
Knowingly, I haven't put any of Brazil in there, but maybe subconsciously. I mean, there's a lot of rain in the game. So, and it gets pretty rainy here. That's one of the things I adore about the fall season here is the awesome tropical storms where it basically rains sideways. So who knows? There's other things here. Geralmente para ter console novo, as pessoas vendo o antigo, por isso intervalo ser. I'm awful at reading, by the way, but I'm trying.
Same.
So generally, for a new console, people sell the older ones, because of this inviável. Maybe I don't know what that word means. Collection. Okay, collectors. Okay, so a lot of the consoles end up with collectors. Maybe that's what he or she is trying to say. What they are trying to say. Sorry, I apologize. My reading of Portuguese is a little worse than my understanding of actual spoken Portuguese, because I didn't learn by reading. I learned by listening.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so glad you totally like get me now. Because like that's my relationship to like English and stuff. So reading is for me a bit like difficult, but because like 99% of like everything I know from like my vocabulary and stuff like that is all from movies. So movies and games.
Yeah,
and
I hear that a lot. A lot of people learning via movies and shows and stuff.
Yeah. I guess it's also like very easy to like learn through that and experience, because it's the closest thing to like experience the language if you don't have like anyone in your like close
if you're not immersed
by,
in the actual culture.
Exactly.
I found that I found that to be very true. Like Brazilians trying to learn English as well, they're all learning through
movies,
games.
Games
and movies, totally.
Yeah.
Games and movies, and that's cool. I keep forgetting you're not an American, or you're not. I keep forgetting you are foreign. This is a second language. I mean, you have an accent, which is a great accent, but like you're so well.
Oh man, I just like recently found out that I have an accent. It's not a joke. Like
no, it's great. It's,
one friend,
it's very charming.
Yeah, thank you. Like a very close friend of mine is from Ireland, and he moved here to Vienna. And just like a week ago, we talked about like accents, and because he like doesn't want to learn German, and and he doesn't want to have like a accent and stuff like that. And I was and I was like, he was like, I don't want to like end up like you. And I was like, what do you mean with that? So yeah, under all like my relatives, I mean all the people I know, you're like the person with the like most like accent and like and I'm like, what do you mean I have an accent? I in my head it sounds like totally like normal and such, and I was like a bit offended, but on the other hand it's like because like I have
want the accent.
You
don't want to lose that.
Yeah, but the good thing is also I got a new coworker, a girl from France, and I really love her accent. And it's like I don't have a crush. Yeah, I mean I have a girlfriend. I don't have a crush on her, but I really love to like listen to her and how she like pronounces stuff, and it's so like mesmerizing, and it's just like the accent, and But I think French is also like a different thing.
Our impression of French is very romantic anyway, so it is just a pleasure to listen to.
Yeah. Très heureux. Yeah.
But no, your accent is awesome, and it'd be sad when you lose it, but it will mean that you're getting better at English. So it's kind of like it goes hand in hand.
Oh man.
I like to think that I have like a cute like foreigner accent at this point. Like I'm definitely not fluent at all, but I like to imagine that I have an endearing accent when I speak Portuguese.
Yeah.
That keeps me a little more like kind of immune to people's ire if they maybe I'm being annoying in a public place or something like at an official government building getting my identification. I at least have a cute accent.
Yeah, and maybe like that's a plus for like social interactions and stuff. So but I'm glad we're like on the same page with like this thing with the second language and stuff.
Right. Well, I guarantee your English is better than my Portuguese. Like I don't interact with enough Brazilians on a day-to-day to actually like cultivate my accent or my language.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, because I work alone. Yeah, totally. I totally have more respect for you really going out of your way to learn English. Like no one asked you to do that. Same with anyone who learns English at all. Because Americans don't learn any other languages. So it's like more power to you if you can manage that. It's awesome.
Yeah, just like I mean I get like I work in a museum and stuff, and as a side job, and sometimes I get like tourist groups from America, and also sometimes I get like visitor groups from the embassy. Embassy?
Yeah,
Is
the
it called?
embassy.
Yeah, embassy. Yeah, embassy from like America and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
and it's super interesting, the like the how the behavior like changes a bit, and you really see like which people are like culturally a bit more like aware that they are in a different country, and you have
Oh
like
yeah,
some people that just like act like they are still in America and like, oh, this is my
yeah. Actually, let me
playground.
bring this up. I'm glad you brought that up too, because that kind of brings me back to that question about advice for coming to Brazil. And I think this goes for any country: is don't treat it like you're in a theme park when you're visiting. There are so many people here who are like, I don't like Americans because, like tourists, I don't like American tourists because they come here with this like theme park syndrome where they feel like, oh, it's just a
Yeah.
goofy tropical place. Like, oh,
Yeah.
and they start doing things, crazy things, because they see obviously like because of the culture, the whole surroundings is so different. But people like they go crazy and they just behave, like they do things that are so rude, like, I don't even want to say like the things that people do, but just don't act like you're not at your mom's house, or at like your aunt's house. Like be respectful even when you're at the hotel. Like I think people get that theme park mentality when they travel, especially Americans, because Americans, they think they're on top of the world. And I mean, in many ways, they're reinforced to believe that, and so it's sort of there's a vague truth to that, just because of how American centric the world is.
Yeah.
Get ready for China to take that from us, because.
Or
But yeah, in
India,
the
or
meantime,
India, man.
yeah.
I mean, they're
Oh
close,
yeah, like they're
especially in
getting there
gaming.
as far as culture. Yeah, for sure. As far as pop culture and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, any country you visit, don't if you feel giddy, like you're gonna, you know, be goofy with the taxi driver or whatever, or do something like stick your head out the window and shout, or just be respectful. You're not in a theme park. You're at your aunt's house, and your aunt, she needs to get more rest because she has a cold or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, just be
Um,
respectful. I mean, that goes without saying. But you mentioned it, so I thought that's important. Because I have heard Brazilians say stuff like that about Americans, about American tourists specifically.
Yeah, I think like that term really like summons the whole thing up. It's like this theme park behavior. It's like, oh, this
Yeah.
is a place to enjoy myself and have fun and stuff. And I really like, I saw that. I was invited. I can't like elaborate on that, but I was invited and worked in a like little in a gala. It was like a very like I don't know how to call it. It was like an event from the US government inside of Vienna. And
Mhm.
and you really like had like it was the biggest culture like shock ever for like the
Mhm.
Americans, and I really like
You
felt
can
that.
spot the Americans.
Exactly. And it was really like it was like mixed. It was a lot of like military from Korea and from so I think it was from America and Korea, and it was a celebration about the Marine Corps and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
and you really like a lot of like those Marines just like came straight from the airport to the gala and just like
Mhm.
changed on the way or like at the location. And it was super interesting because like they walked into this like shuttle bus situation, and then they stepped out into like this palace and such. And so you really
Wow.
like saw like in their like eyes the like, yeah, I really got that.
Yeah, the culture shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like it was like 2 weeks ago, I met Natalie Portman in the museum. And
Wow, cool.
she was like Guy Ritchie with Guy Ritchie, the director.
Wow, cool. Yeah,
And
awesome. Wow, what
yeah,
a great spot.
yeah, I mean, I'm totally like underpaid and stuff, but I mean, I meet a lot of like interesting people, and yeah.
Yeah,
So
it sounds like you meet a lot of stars out there. That's
yeah,
cool.
and it's super interesting because like Guy Ritchie was like looking for locations and was taking like notes how to break into the museum and stuff like that for a movie or something like that.
Heist.
And yeah, I hope it was for a movie.
You just
And-
find out on the news later that someone stole from the museum. And
Yeah.
he looked a lot like Guy Ritchie.
Yeah. No, I mean he was announced and stuff like that. So we had to like lead the common folk out of the room and stuff like that. And Natalie Portman was like just the cutest little like person ever because she was like just taking selfies the whole time. And at one point
Must
she
be
even
surreal.
yeah, she asked Guy Ritchie, could you like take a picture of me in front of this painting and stuff like that? And and it was so like you it doesn't matter what kind of like person you are, like this theme park, like tourist culture shock stuff like is like always around you. It's super interesting.
Yeah.
So wait, back to the comments.
Hey, do we have more Brazilian, any more Portuguese stuff I should read here?
Oh, the Pursuer mentioned that he is also a solo developer. Interesting.
Oh,
Interesting.
He's in Brazil.
Yeah.
Right? He's the one been asking. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of indie devs here that I noticed. In fact, I spoke with Devolver. I spoke with Nigel. We spoke a while back when he heard about the game project. He was just curious about getting into contact. And yeah, we got to talking, and he mentioned, I think he might have been or sent some people from Devolver Digital to the BIG Expo. And so they're present here. Indie developers or indie publishers know that there's indie games here. And yeah, I mean, I know it. A lot of my friends here who I met through Twitter are making games, and they're producing games, and they're releasing games. And I believe even a Devolver published game, I think it was called Sludge Life. I've heard about it.
Yeah.
It's having a sequel soon. But that's a Brazilian indie developer. I don't know him specifically,
really?
him or her. Yeah, I don't know them specifically, but Nigel was telling me that this is someone that they interact with, and yeah, Brazilian guy. Brazilian, I don't know who it is, if it's a guy or a girl. Brazilian person.
Nice.
But yeah, very, very surprised to hear about like a very notable indie game coming out of Brazil. But honestly, how surprising is it when there's so much like game culture here?
Yeah.
So many people working on games, and it was just cool to hear from Devolver that they're aware of the presence of the power that's here.
Oh, nice. Because like Devolver is like I really like admire them as a publisher and stuff like that. Also, like they really you see. I don't know if you like saw their the press thing with the little mascot, and they inserted their mascot in all the games and stuff like that. It was like,
I don't know. I know them. I know them to do some pretty punk rock things with their promotion.
Their marketing is like on fire.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of love for like retro stuff and such. Lee, if you're gonna put it on Switch, I was gonna ask you how the dev for that was. And for his own future interests, he wants to suck up your like your expertise and stuff.
Wait, what did he? Sorry, can you read that again? I'm trying to see it in here. His question was,
if you're gonna put it on Switch, because he asked the question about if you're only like put it primarily on PC. Because like he was interested in how to like develop for Switch and stuff. So
right, yeah,
I think handhelds, because also he mentioned he plays a lot of games primarily on his Steam Deck these days. And I think personally like handhelds are like back on the rise. So like
totally
Switch and Steam Deck and stuff. And and I think like the Steam Deck makes it really like easy. I mean, like you don't even have you haven't been like aware of the fact that it's actually like compatible.
That's playable.
Yeah, it's playable.
I mean, like games, I think portable systems are very like compatible with consoles in that the controls are already like before. Back in the day, a mobile system would have, or what do you call it? Yeah, a transportable system would have kind of a scheme, like a control scheme that was a bit different, maybe a touch screen and stuff like that. Now there's such a emphasis on cross-platform that all the systems, they need to be kind of compatible with each other. So from my perspective, just like you said, I've been making this game with the Xbox controller in mind because that's the PC controller standard. So in the same way, it'll work with your third-party controllers because it's all mapped the same. PS4 controller, you'll have to remap the buttons a little bit. The inputs are the same, but the buttons are all there. It all works. Same with the Steam Deck. All the buttons that are on the controller, on a regular handheld controller, are on the Steam Deck as well. And the same with Switch. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of little things about that guy that I don't know. But I think if you make a game that's playable with a regular gamepad, it's going to work on the Switch no problem. As far as the actual porting process, for Unity, it's click and play. Like they make a little package for exporting. Yeah, like I don't know how it is now. I'm sure like if you download the latest Unity, you'll have the exporting media, the build media to just build an APK or an application package to just run it right off the system. I'm pretty sure it's pretty straightforward. On Unreal, it's got to be the same. I mean, these things are so streamlined now that there must be just like a plugin you put in, you select Switch and you export it. I'm sure there's more nuance to it, but like obviously I haven't given it a lot of thought. But for Unity, I can just tell you like it's literally just me flipping a switch to a console that I want, hitting build, and it produces a runnable executable for that system. Obviously, it's going to come with its own like caveats because the rendering software and the hardware is all different. So some of your shaders might not work. You'll have to address that stuff. There might be some other incompatibilities. So it's always going to be kind of a test. But if you have a game made and running in editor, whether it be Unreal or Unity, I'm sure the process is pretty well documented and pretty well streamlined for the Switch in particular, because it's been out for a while. There's got to be documentation already. So yeah, nice. I mean, I can't speak for it, but I imagine it's pretty straightforward. Because yeah, PC, Mac, Linux is just a button I press and it comes out and I send it to people. It works apparently.
I think also like that's a topic like most developers figure out after they finish the game, I guess. If it's possible like to port it over and stuff. But
I would recommend just checking while you're working, because I could make this whole game, never run it, and then find out I have all these problems. And then if I'm really unlucky, one of the problems might be systemic or something like really important, and then it becomes impossible to run on another system. So it's always worth testing as you make it.
Like little milestones and just testing it out, and also like for like archiving your progress and your demos and stuff like that. It makes sense. Nice question, Lee. Thank you. And also like shout out to Lit Lee. We have been currently like reaching out to each other because he's like he's also like a retro low poly artist, very active on Instagram and stuff. So he is in our like very active in our community. And I
should join up and follow some of these people if you can invite me to the Discord.
Sure. After the stream. Ray B. Cool. Hey, Ray B. What's up? What's good? Okay, nice that you're like. Okay, so I'm so sorry. We will next up like talk about like straight up about the game and such. And my little YouTube stream setup has a little like notification. It tells me to put an ad right here. Should we?
We can take a little break for an ad. Gotta get money. Gotta get paid.
It would be nice to have maybe money for a coffee or something like that. I'm so sorry, guys, for placing an ad right now.
We won't say anything. In fact, it might be nice just to have a little breather.
Yeah.
How long are the ads?
I have no clue. I just pressed the insert ad button.
Will it tell us when we were back?
Yeah, I think YouTube just...
How many people are here? There's 25 people. Is it really worth running an ad? I don't know how it works. I'm not the YouTuber.
No, I think I made at least maybe 10 cents or something like that. Awesome.
Right, I'll leave that to the YouTuber. I have no idea.
Yeah,
I shouldn't even say. I shouldn't even weigh in on it.
I have no clue. I just do what the algorithm like tells me tells me to do. Brain Goop.
Don't hate the player, hit the game.
Okay, I think we should like talk about the actual like game.
Yes.
So
do it.
Well. Let me like just quickly change and run the trailer in the background. So,
oh, cool.
What is it like?
Professional over here.
Thank you. Thank you. What is love and eternity about?
Right. This is a little tougher of a question. I know creators love to say that about their like pet projects and stuff, but this is like a game really bred by a life experience that I had. And It might be interesting to learn about it. Basically, as you may have heard, I'm now married to a Brazilian. Yeah. We're very happily married and we're both living here. But it wasn't always the case. There was a moment in time where I wasn't thinking about the future. I was very like naive in my youth. I wasn't planning on moving anywhere. I wasn't thinking about where I'd be in the next 5 years or anything. But my wife, Bianca, she was kind of worried that would put strain on the relationship because we had started living separate. Like she went back to Brazil and I was living in Massachusetts. Yeah, and of course, if you've ever been in a relationship, you know the moment that person is away from you for too long, you start having doubts, you start having fears, you start having withdrawals from just the person's company. Especially her coming back to Brazil as an American who had never left the country. I was like, oh my God, she's like, there's landslides all around her. There's guns everywhere. There's fires everywhere. Like she's getting robbed. She's in danger at all times. I can do nothing about it. What if she's always walking everywhere? She's always telling me she's like walking to go to, I don't know, her dance practice or something. And I don't know, me being kind of neurotic and a little nervous, it definitely made those feelings kind of spiral and snowball. So I ended up feeling very like lonely, sad, and worried all the time, like living apart from her. And of course, like, yeah, I mean, and it was also winter in Massachusetts at the time. So I was dealing with like, you know, cold and sad, just like a tough place. Yeah, so I guess there was one night I was feeling kind of particularly zoned out and like, you know, appropriately alone feeling. And I was just watching a movie. I was watching Shutter Island. If you've seen that's that Leonardo DiCaprio one where he goes to an island to solve a mystery. Feeling particularly cozy watching that movie and very like influential. I was watching it like 2 a.m. or something late at night. And at that point, you're kind of heightened awareness, I guess, and delirious. So watching the movie, I think I could have been watching any movie, I would have felt this way, but I was feeling particularly invested in what was happening. There's a lot of themes in that movie that you might recognize in the game. Visual themes like rain, right? I originally envisioned the game just to be completely rainy all the time because I love that kind of that ambience. There's a tie-in there with tragedy, kind of post traumatic stress, I guess, from war that's kind of present throughout the movie. And there's a very impactful scene where he sees like frozen corpses piled on top of each other, and there's the music cue during that. If you go back and watch the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a music that's just really impactful. It really hit me hard. And all of a sudden, this scene appeared in my head of someone approaching the murder scene of his loved one who he had been running to get to in time to save. And then it just went from there. I started thinking about it from there, that feeling, kind of honing in on the feeling. And it just naturally came out as a story. I wrote the story kind of based off of that, of the idea, kind of infusing my experience of being separated into that whole cacophony of emotion. And came this story of separation, maybe not physical separation because they are together in death, but spiritual separation, like a figurative separation. I guess their souls kind of separate, and they're now separated in the afterlife, and they have to find each other. And that's kind of what the story's about. It's just about finding the other half of your soul, which is kind of a metaphor for falling in love with someone, is your souls combine. And so when you're in this, I had to make lore because people expect it. And I kind of wanted to lay groundwork for how the world works, because I think that's important for all the gears to kind of turn properly. And in this world, you will find that when a murder takes place, the soul is ripped from the body, just like the guy explains in the beginning of the demo. And that pulling out of the body disturbs the soul in a way where it can no longer find its way back or find its way to ascend or anything like that. So it ends up floating in space for a while. And eventually, I mean, like we saw in the demo, the soul finds the body again, but it's a skeleton guy now, because that's cool. And because they were in love when they died, or when he had a loved one, his soul is no longer complete. He can no longer pass on to the next phase of life or whatever. And now the task at hand is to find the other half of his soul in his loved one. They both have the same mission, essentially. They're both on the lookout for each other. You can kind of find a parallel. Like, you can imagine all the experiences that the guy had, the knight had, the lover is also having the same adventure to get to meet in the middle somewhere. And you'll find that kind of parody imagery throughout the game later on. I have stuff planned for that to make it more obvious. Like, that's sort of a imagery that I have. But that's the gist of it, is two souls that can't be complete until reunited, looking for each other in this afterlife. It's as simple as it is, really. And that's where I'm going from with the story. And I imagine I'll be explaining some of that kind of through lore cues throughout the game. There's still a lot more to go, right? So like maybe through the demo in the second area, that's the swamp. It might not come across, but that's the goal, is to kind of trickle that stuff to the player as they play. But and yeah, that's where we're at right now.
I mean, but by the way, I mean, to all the people like in the chat, if you haven't played the demo, please head to like Steam or like itch.io and check out the demo, please. And I think even though you just like mentioned you want to like make it more obvious, like this incompletion of the souls and stuff and such, I think through the demo, like the wandering around aspect and this search of completion and so on is very like, again, transparent, I think, even though like you can't like find whole books or notes to like read it. The environmental like storytelling and it's very like present. So
cool. That's good to know. Yeah, I mean, I hear things from both sides of the argument. Like, there's a lot of players. I think most people, if everyone in the world played the game, most people would say they don't know what's going on. And I kind of want to find a middle ground there, just to make it digestible, because there are people who are interested in the way it looks and they want to play it. But if there's no entry point for them as far as the story, I feel like that's a weakness. And so not making it obvious, because I really do believe in imagery and subtlety, and maybe not telling but showing, right? At the same time, there are people who might feel dissatisfied or unfulfilled or disappointed if they don't catch any of those little notes that I put through there. So I want to make them a little more on the forefront. We'll see where that goes, though. I mean, this is a learning experience for me. Like, I've never made a game outside of collaborative efforts. So this is my first solo game. And it's all going to be kind of different as it moves along until the game's done. Like, it's going to be a moving thing. Even the demo is outdated already, right? Because I just made a bunch of changes. Yeah. Like, I changed I fixed a bunch of stuff, changed the way things are working. So it's all going to be a changing, fluid thing, and that's part of it. It's definitely the story, because I don't want to like talk down about it or anything, because that's not how you sell your game. But the story was very simple when I started, and because people kept asking questions, I had to create a narrative until where we are now, where I have kind of a backstory and I have these things. So the game was never planned to have all these things. It was only planned to have some of them. So they're not going to be shoehorned. I'm not going to stick them in there without reason, but they're definitely going to have to find their way in there somehow for sure. And yeah, I have taste, so I'm going to put them in there in a nice way. hopefully not, making the more subtle crowd disappointed. I don't want to make anything too obvious because I like the interpretation of the player. I think that's part of it. Leaving a lot of it up to them to just imagine. That's important too.
I think what's super like interesting is that I think you really like will hit like a nerve in like gaming with your game, because like story-based games are like getting more like less and less focused on, and also like I think overall like in media like symbolism and stuff like that is I'm like you mentioned, I'm part of the subtle like symbolism gang and stuff like that. So I really like figuring out meaning and interpreting things and stuff like that. But totally. I mean, yeah,
it's totally
like you said,
lost for sure.
The middle ground is important. Overall, like the immersion is there, and like you already feel the vibes, and the visuals are like also there. And I think that will also like lead to the next question. Can you actually like show us maybe a bit of how you make your stuff and your assets and such? I think that would be a super interesting thing for us, for us for the chat, and for me to like figure out how you do it. What's sure. behind the curtain?
Oh man, I mean, people do ask that a lot, and it's funny because I think of it as such a simple process, but people are still enlightened to hear the process because there's always little things here and there that that is new to someone. Obviously, someone learning it, but even people who have been working on games, it's new stuff. Is this the part where we share screens? Because I could share.
Yeah, just like share. Sharing is caring.
Yeah, let me start. I have the engine up we can get to later, but I'll show you. I mean, I guess I can give you a look at the mesh of the main character at least.
Yeah.
See if I can get this to work without.
Just try it. I will just read into the like. Oh, you already like.
I'm doing it Discord. Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay. Wait.
Does that work?
Wait. Let me just enhance the thing. Yeah, I will just like use Discord. Okay. Should be fine.
Does that work? Very nice.
Yep. So
yeah,
your screen. Yeah, your screen is live.
Yes. Okay. So this is, it's the main character. People are always curious to see like up close. I don't really know how much I can really say about it. It's a character model. Let me like select him so you can see the.
Could you maybe
stuff.
Exactly, and maybe the wireframe. The wireframe. I was super interested in the wireframe and your poly count and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, we can see all that. I don't know if you can get this resolution, but you can see the selected verts are here. Can you see my mouse as well?
Yeah, the whole screen. Oh, nice.
This is reading the scene, and this is reading the what I have selected, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you break it down, let's just hide everything, and you can just see.
Whoa!
So we have. Oh, sorry.
Oh, nice. Oh man.
Basically, I thought of layers when I thought of this game. I was thinking, transparency is very expensive. So I will use not transparency, but cutout or clip transparency, which is 0 and 1 transparency. So it's either transparent or it's not. And I thought, how can I make that kind of more interesting? And I was like, well, I can add like layers to it. Like I have the body here, and then under the body is the skeleton. And that already kind of has a cool effect just to see that, because you can get in there and see all the details, right?
Hell yes.
And so that's that's something that's throughout the entire game. You'll notice there's layers on all the even environmental stuff, especially like the trees. There's a layer I left just for mold and moss and stuff, just like
that's
this.
crazy, man. Oh, that's so smart. That's so smart. I think,
mean,
yeah, layers.
It's funny how rare it is.
Yeah.
Because it's a technique I am aware of. I've always been aware of this kind of cutout transparency. But putting the two together, I guess, is what makes it unique. Because the two separate are something that you see in most games. You see a lot of this type of transparency, but the combination to create depth in a mesh. Because I think in a lot of cases with retro style, like if I just turn the textures off, let's see, you get this flat kind of look, and it's with the texture on it. And that kind of, you have like a cap on the amount of detail you can imply with that. You can just have texture detail. But as soon as you add a little depth to it, I'm already getting kind of two layers here, even just with this one part of the mesh. And so we're seeing the back and the front of the character, giving it a lot of this interesting depth. And I guess I'm getting a lot of license because the character can afford to have a hole in it. Like a lot of characters, you can't give them holes in the middle of them. But this guy's undead, so I can do this with the main character.
Oh, man.
But even with buildings or trees and stuff, you can do this sort of thing with the like secondary details, like bark on a tree or bricks. I have a lot of buildings in the, not a lot, I say a lot, but I have buildings in the game with the brick layers, that secondary layer on the exterior, to give it a 3D. If you look at the brick laying in the demo, you'll see a 3D kind of layer effect to it. And that's kind of the mission statement for the art direction, is having these layers in everything I can. And it doesn't have everywhere, but most things have this kind of extra interest in the depth of it.
That's
of course,
so genius.
The main character has like a lot of layers to it with the armor as well.
Oh man, that's so genius. Just like, I mean, in the chat, like Bad Tunes, just like, yep, that is so genius. And oh man, I think it's really something for some reason that's totally underutilized, but you really like used it as like a whole style in itself, and it works.
Yeah, I mean,
it just works.
I'm very happy with the way it ended up looking, and I think it came from a very like practical place where when you think of detail on like a 3D scanned object, that's like the highest detail we can get these days. If you look at a 3D scanned like tree, for example, I don't know, it's just a regular object being scanned in 3D, but it has these like flaky parts of it that come off. That give it that extra layer and that extra depth and detail and stuff. That's I could have just seen it back then as implemented in a retro style game with these kind of clip textures. In Maya, it's not clipping like it does in the engine. We can look at the engine after. What do I have in there?
Just could we maybe also take a look at the like texture? How is your UV layout and stuff?
Let's see. Let me select the body. What's the button again? Perfect. I'm just guessing with some of these buttons. I don't come in here that often.
Oh, beautiful layout, man.
I got very anal with the I get OCD. Here's a something to avoid as an indie developer if you're making a game in your free time. Something I fell into pretty drastically with this game is I basically had unlimited time and no deadlines while I was making these assets. So I was very meticulous about making sure every line here was perfectly lined up. Everything was perfectly unwrapped to an extent that I didn't have to.
Yeah.
Oh, the actual body's on a different, let's see. Here's everything in the helmet.
How big is your texture size?
The characters are 512 by 512, I think.
Ah, okay.
No, is that right? I don't know if there's an easy way for me to check here. But I did set a specific, what is it called? Like a rule of thumb, I guess, for characters and for environmental assets. So I think 256, all my environmental assets, or all I should say my terrain textures for the materials for the terrains and the trees are all 256.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all separate textures and materials. And then I have, what is this called? An atlas? I think you call it an atlas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For characters, and these are larger because they contain a lot more detail. So this is, I think it's 512 or 1024. I'm leaning towards 1024 because there's actually a lot of detail in here.
Mhm.
The deterioration and stuff. And yeah, I just set a rule of thumb to keep things consistent for me. It could be any resolution, right? But I found that because how close to the camera the main character is usually, it should be however many times more than a regular terrain texture.
Yeah. So you found there your sweet spot.
Yeah. I just took a shot, and then you get too deep after making a couple characters.
Yeah.
You get kind of deep, and you kind of just have to stick with it after a while because all my characters are like this. All my environmental assets are this size, so it'd be hard to change it at this point.
A quick question, because like I use very like extensively like photo bashing and stuff like that. Did you use photos or did you paint everything yourself?
No, yeah, this is photo bashed. It's totally like I went on
okay.
cgtextures.com and grabbed all the textures, and I bought a couple packages. Like all the bones you'll see are from what is the website called? It's called I think it's called Photo Bash.
Okay.
Oh no, it'd be great if I remembered it. But there's a website that sells big packages of stock photos.
Yeah.
I think it's called Photo Bash, honestly. Photo Bash.
Oh, nice.
And they have two, I think, of just animal bones and different types of bones. And they have armor.
Yeah.
I think I used some of their armors here. What are we looking at here? Can I look at this without? I don't know if I can look at this without the. Just move these over.
Zulu, nice to have you, man. Hi. What's up, Zulu? Oh my god, you don't even like understand like the scale of like happiness I'm feeling right now, because like I'm a huge fan of like photo bashing, and because like I really like don't feel comfortable with like painting and drawing and stuff.
Yeah, I mean with painting you'll get a certain look, right? You can go for kind of stylized if you're really good, and it also takes a long time to paint.
Exactly.
The photo bashing was something I knew I was comfortable with because I've done it before. It is quick and easy, right? I mean, I say it's quick and easy, but it can get tough, like especially when you're dealing with a lot of layers. Like this is a lot of layers.
Yeah.
I have a texture that's the same texture that's the living version of him, and I had to make all the masks work and stuff. So it gets in depth. But yeah, photo texturing, like all the way down to these kind of details. It's all photos that I grabbed from these photo bash packages or from CG textures. I think this, like his armor specifically, was the photo bash. I hope that's the right name. I'll have to look it up later.
Yeah,
because they have a nice set of armors and weapons that I just grabbed from.
And then you, I think you reduced the colors, right?
It was actually really vibrant. Yeah, before it was actually quite vibrant in the first demo. And then I was like, maybe it's a little, for being so old, like all his skin is gone. So maybe it got some more. So I added a layer of mold. You might be able to see some of the details of mold here. You just put that on top of everything. And I desaturated it. And I did that with all the characters here, so we can have another look as well at the,
oh man, it's
at the killer.
Whoa.
This guy's got a much cooler, in my opinion, set of armor.
Oh shit. This character is, oh no, I saw him on your Instagram. I thought this is first time that you're showing off this character. Wow, the design is so awesome. That's so badass, man. Please put that on like a t-shirt or something like that, and like
yeah, really, he's definitely a wow factor guy, right?
Yeah.
Big helmet and stuff.
Please think about like your merch and stuff, because like that would work like so perfectly.
I haven't even thought about. I've never thought about merch.
Oh man,
it's such a funny concept.
Oh, that's
I like his armor. He's got, for example, we have this. I mean, this was probably part of a piece of armor that I saw on one of the textures that I grabbed, and then I thought, since it's kind of embossed on, as the concept of the armor, it's embossed. I have this on that second layer. We can look at that. So it's just a flat piece that stretches around like that. Same with
layers and layers and layers.
Lots of layers.
It totally like works. It's, oh man. Oh, yeah. I'm so flashed right now. I can't even like like a form, like a new sentence. It's like I'm so hyped. It's just
Thank you. That's very flattering. Trying to figure out why this stuff is unselectable. I have no idea what's happening.
maybe you are
That's fine.
in like rigging or pose mode or something like that.
I don't know. This is actually a scene I made for making the imagery for the memory reflections in the new demo. It's like
Yeah.
I'll pose a character, take a picture, and create some imagery for the bonfire. Because when you visit the bonfire now, you'll actually
Yeah.
you'll have some imagery to reflect on. So that's what the scene is already with these characters and assets.
Yeah, I noticed that it's so like smart. It just oh man, it's I really man, you are like a genius. You're like the man.
Don't say that. Don't
This
say
is
that. You'll
really
give me an ego.
yeah, I'm so sorry, but I mean, to some extent, you please have an ego, man. I mean, this is really something like it. It's like the oh my god, how is it called? It's like a period piece of our like community and what like the whole like retro thing is about, in my opinion, because like it's you are so much like in the balance of like retro but new. Like you found a like perfect sweet spot, in my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, when I was learning texturing and modeling, I learned in Maya, which is a very dated software. Like this is Maya 15.
Yeah.
Because I happen to have bought it years and years and years ago. And so all the techniques I learned to create assets were things from, teachers who had made PS2 games. So they taught me how to do unwrapping in like the old-fashioned way,
But I mean, old fashioned is in, is so in, baby.
Oh no, I think I just saved over that. Whatever. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm trying to remember the hotkeys.
Okay.
Is the texture?
I'm sorry.
It turns out to be a useful asset when you're making retro style things. It's like, this workflow to me, it's very standard because this is kind of the way you see things packed in older games and PS2 games. Obviously, I learned in college how to do things in ZBrush and work in Unreal and modern things. But this is kind of where I spent a lot of time practicing, was this type of stuff, like box modeling and unwrapping, and so that's where my comfort zone is. And I really enjoyed the photo bashing thing that you're talking about, because it's so much more relaxing to just go, like, I just need a material for like chainmail, and you just go there, you doctor it up a little bit, you make it transparent, and you throw it in the engine.
Yeah, and done.
And it works out nice. And also, like, I'm pretty good. I've been using Photoshop since high school, so I'm pretty good at Photoshop. And anytime I need to like create a shadow or make a mask or add some kind of blending detail or whatever, I can make my way around Photoshop really well, and so that helps out a lot in making this kind of an easy process for me, because that was the main thing, was like, if I'm going to be making this game alone, it's got to be a little bit easy, right? I don't want to give myself too much of a challenge, because there's a lot of content in the game. A lot of stuff had to be made by myself, and
I really like to like when, for example, with the tutorials, or when like people ask me, because I see like a lot of like my like approaches or like my style in yours, but you're just like way more like advanced, in my opinion. And I
would like
always
to say that it's not maybe not advanced, but probably like there's more like
time,
levels of detail here.
Yeah, more levels of detail, the layering and so on. It's I'm so flashed, man. And yeah, but I mean, I like to preach about like the benefits of like limitations and cutting corners, because I think a lot of people don't realize that like you can overlearn or over like plan like a game project. At some point you need to just like head into it and just do it, and Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I say the same stuff too. Yeah, I get a lot of people who I can very much tell that they're waiting for that tutorial to tell them how to do everything, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're just waiting for that to happen. But the truth is you don't start learning for real until you start making. Like you have to just
Exactly.
do it and just know that what you make is going to be, you know, what it is, and just
Yeah.
be proud of what it is. It's not going to be perfect, especially on your first attempts. But yeah, I get heartbroken because I can tell a lot of these people who contact me are just waiting for me to make the tutorial to tell them how to do their game, and it just doesn't exist. It's just not possible because the motivation has to be there to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's scary to take that first jump. Like I didn't know how to make a game when I started. And like, sure, I suffer a little bit now because there are things about my game project in Unity that are a little frustrating to work through and work around now that I have a better understanding of how I could have done something.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like this isn't my last game. I'm going to move on to another game and I'm going to take all that knowledge with me. And it's knowledge I only would have learned by doing. And I only did learn by doing. So yeah, just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Well, don't wait for the tutorial. Like obviously you need to know the software, but that's it, man. Like you just need to learn the software because that's the only barrier to entry is learning the syntax of the interface. Once you know your way around Photoshop, Maya, Blender, whatever, Unreal, like, and don't even wait for that. Just get in there and start making. Like when I was in college, I would always kind of preach like set a realistic goal for yourself and do it all the way through, even if it sucks by the end. Like even if you know you messed up.
Yeah.
And I did that with creating models when I was first learning how to just make models. And I did that with animation and I did that with storytelling, just writing something. I set myself a realistic goal to just finish at all costs. And when I started this game, it was kind of the same thing. It's like I gave myself this goal, obviously not very realistic anymore now that I look at it. But I'm going to do it all the way through, like kind of brute force it, finish the thing and move on. And I will take all that knowledge with me. And that's how you learn, man. You just, I don't want to say you just, because it is tough. When you actually do the work all the way through from start to finish, that's when you start learning. That's when you learn stuff. It is tough, but
I think it's not just learning. It's also like you develop your own style.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like what you're saying, the whole like art through restrictions.
Yeah.
Right. Like this style was born because I don't know how to paint. I don't know how to make textures otherwise. I just screwed up this character model. Let me undo all this stuff. Let's see if I can undo it without crashing.
And I mean, it's so much more like advanced than you could ever like achieve with painting, or it would like take forever and it would take the fun out of it and so on. So I mean,
you get a lot of extra detail for free when you're dealing with you're dealing with photo textures. I just screwed up this whole thing.
I'm so sorry.
I hope I didn't. Well, I have everything backs up on Google, so I should be able to just revert the thing, so it's fine.
Okay. I will just like check in on the chat very like quickly. So Lit Lee, haha. The pixel art hands fingers go so hard. The little like are they just planes?
Yeah. I mean the skeleton layer it looks like this.
Is it?
Because I needed them to move individually.
Yeah.
At least it's a three finger thing, right?
It's just a plane. Oh man.
That's well, basically, I took this mesh here.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can see that. There's no texture on it right now, but I took this mesh and just took the top of it off.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's what created the plane for me because I already had the hand ready.
Oh, nice.
Maybe I can. Can I set? Let's see if I can set the actual living texture. I think I have it in here. Main living. Yeah, so you can see it a little easier.
Yeah.
No idea why I can't select this this controller, but whatever. Main. I have all these like groups. This is the really in the weeds here.
Yeah. You have to get like back into the
I can do individual like for the cinematics if I need him to do anything specific with the usually you can get by with just grabbing if you just have a a way to do a grabbing motion, but I wasn't sure like what the cinematics would be like. But it is nice to have a little extra detail there for cutscenes and specifically.
Yeah, because I mean they also like play, I think, a huge role for the overall like quality of the game, in my opinion, because like the cutscenes are like out of nowhere you get hit with like the most cinematic masterpiece ever, in my opinion. And
Oh my.
let me just from the chat we have here 6066606. Hey guys, I just saw the stream, downloaded the game, and I'm sitting here in shock. Amazing work, visual style, and just wow. So
Thank you very much. I'm glad you played it. I'm glad you at least got to. If you could just go in and just hang out in that first area and just kind of soak in the sound effects, because I feel like the sound effects, the people doing the music, the musician and the sound effects engineer for the game was commissioned. They just did an awesome job, and I just kind of like sitting there and just enjoying the ambience and hearing the rain dripping on the. Like if I could just make a game that was just you standing in that first area and taking in the vibes, that's what the game could be. But instead I have to make game mechanics.
Like a cozy game, just like a walking simulator in the first area.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the game is very walking simulator-esque.
Yeah.
And anything that's in the game that isn't walking simulator was something I added because I felt guilty for making it a walking simulator, and people made me feel bad.
But I have to, there's something I have to tell you, and maybe also like interesting for you guys in the chat. I was like in a little meeting about like a retro style like game, and it was like very backrooms inspired and stuff like that. Very like with liminal spaces. And I ask in the meeting, so okay, yeah, now I know about like the project and stuff. What's my part in the whole like game, and why are we having like this meeting? And they told me, yeah, basically we need a lot of like entities and encounters and monsters. And then I was like, okay, but like the whole like liminal space thing is like based on like the environments and stuff, and like
literally liminal things.
Yeah, and they like approached me with the offer for like this position for like takedown animations and like interesting monsters and such, and I was like, I'm not really like interested, because I from the get-go like I realized that they are clearly like don't getting the appeal of like liminal spaces and such. And I think like you really like nailed it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, like I'm an older guy. My like pacing is slower in general. Like when I play games, like I tend to walk through and really soak it in.
Same.
I think a lot of the trends in more bombastic cinematic stuff is sort of a it's just a sign of the times. Like people just want more and more and more. But I think people will find that as they get older, they're going to want to reflect on those cozy memories. Like this game is essentially me being like, remember in the first level of Onimusha when you first get into the castle and it's just like, you just sit there, you look at the beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds, you're just hearing the sound effects, and you just sit there. There's no one attacking you, nothing happening, but you know there's like stuff around the corner. There's interesting things, like this world is just immersive, and that's kind of like, I don't know, that's my zone for this sort of thing. Is
let me just
vibes, man.
Yeah, just vibes, man. you should sell like the game with like a bit of
vibes, man,
or something like that.
Yeah.
Wait, give me a second. I have to close the window.
Was there birds trying to get in, maybe? Something was trying to get in through the window.
Oh, man. Oh, fuck. I'm sorry. My cat was trying to jump out of the window.
Okay.
So Yeah, he's a bit dumb.
Cat's
Yeah.
always destroying virtual calls.
Yeah.
The pain of virtual video calls.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. From the chat, Salator, holy shit, Love and Eternity is a Brazilian game. Go Brazil.
It is Brazilian in geolocation. And
Yeah.
yes, go Brazil. But I am I'm a straight up New England boy. I would say that the game is New England blood. I could never claim to be Brazilian, but go Brazil. And yes, it is being made here in Brazil. Totally.
And yeah, Lee, the top of the hands, crazy. He's still like trying to process the plane-based hands.
The plane. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it seems like the plane hands like really
that's the meme now.
Yeah, they really like hit a nerve, I guess. Okay. So, and wait, you said you also like have an environment inside Unity to show?
Yes, let's take a look at the. Well, I guess I can show you guys the swamp. The swamp is the
yes, please.
The latest environment, which only patrons can play at the moment. There's a playable version of it, just an early version of it. You just jump over here. I'll come back to the spawn. I'll show you guys a little bit of this. I don't want to like spoil you guys because it is Patreon stuff, and it also is very early and maybe spoilery. So after I'll show you a little bit of this stuff, and you can kind of see how the environment is pieced together. And I'll show you the first area because you guys are probably more familiar with that first area anyway. But this is my project. Can you guys see this?
Wait. So just like a little pause right there.
Sure.
So we should like, so we are like scratching the surface of like Patreon exclusive content just right there.
Oh yeah.
So we should really like take the time very like quickly to shout out your Patreon, because like guys, if you want to like support like Love and Eternity, please check out his like Patreon. You get like exclusive like access to behind the scenes looks and like demo areas and stuff. So and you really like change like a lot of like in the development and stuff, because you're like you straight up support the development and the creator behind it. So check out his Patreon. And so sorry for like pushing in.
No, I very much appreciate that. I should be doing that more often myself. Yes, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you for the shout out. Very, very cozy group of people there. A lot of interesting feedback, great feedback. And it's just nice to have someone to talk to every week about the game, because I do write a lot over there. And I share videos, and there's also tutorials. If you're interested about game development, I am doing tutorials. My latest tutorial is all about how I create an asset from start to finish. A lot of stuff we were talking about is involved in that, like the texture work and stuff. And I'm going to do more as well. So if you're interested in that, there's a really nice, I think it's an hour long, 40 minutes, me talking through the whole thing. You can check that out. So yes, thank you very much. Okay, so here we are. This is the swamp, of course, very watery now. Let's see if we can turn on. I can turn on kind of like a nicer shaded version of this while we look. It's going to be kind of hard to see, actually. It's kind of cool though. Very colorful.
Oh.
Here's the actual like the processed image here.
Nice.
Very difficult to discern what's happening. Let me just turn this off. It's tough, like with streams and stuff. You really got to turn off the ordered dither here to make it like kind of legible on a stream. But yeah, looks nice. I'm working on the lighting and stuff, the look of it. Let me turn this off actually, because it not very clear. Kind of difficult to see, but this is what I work with. I work in this kind of status, this lighting, just kind of bare bones Unity lighting. But the final image is all processed through the lighting and the post-processing, everything. But I don't know what to say about it. It is the environment. I started using modules for the environment rather than using bespoke giant meshes for the environment like I did for the first demo. So this entire map is made of these like modules that I basically puzzle piece together. I snap them all together, and that allows me to create the pathways and the levels and everything.
Also, so you made a little like a kit, like a modular.
Made myself a kit. There's over 100 pieces, unique pieces to the modular kit. It was a lot of work to do. I did it all while my Patreon was launched, so it was kind of like Patreon paid for it, and it did take a long time. It took a while for me to recreate the first area, basically recreate the demo.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to start with this modular set rather than the way I did it before, which was one big environmental mesh. So yeah, I made it. There's about 100 pieces, and then I started working with it and finding a lot of issues and having to fix it, and then creating more modules to cover other areas. And yeah, I think I'm at a pretty good place now where I have most of the modules I'll ever need, which is pretty cool because now I can use this for future games. The swamp is a lot easier because, I'm going to use all this stuff. Probably you'll see a lot of these assets in my next game. The swamp is a little bit easier because it has basically just mostly water to walk on. Mm-hmm. And there are some pathways as you get further along. Let me actually turn up this.
I know that there are some people like in the comments that are like a bit like newer to the whole like game development side and 3D modeling. Mm-hmm. Just as the first thing you placed for your environment was like a ground plane, and on top of it you placed your like modular pieces from the kit you created, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I basically just start with. Usually, I start with kind of an intro area, a little starting section here, all broken down in here. So the start is just kind of this place here. So I'll make like a little area for the character just to kind of get a vista of what they're up against. Mm-hmm. And from there, I just kind of build out. This is kind of a tutorialized section here to for the players to understand this mechanic that I have here with these like spores here. There's going to be a new mechanic in this area. You guys will find out eventually.
Okay, you don't have to spoil anything.
I won't spoil too much. After that, it opens up to the actual area where there's going to be trials and tribulations and set pieces and all kinds of interesting things. And that was actually laid out by a friend of mine who opted to help me design the levels. So he's actually designing the levels, and as I make it, changes happen and kind of becomes an effort on both our parts. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's what the swamp is looking like. I'll play I'll just show you this first scene, this first area, just to have a 3D panoramic around, but then we'll leave because I don't want to show too much off.
Yeah, but that is your like patron, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta respect it.
You can see the water shader.
Okay.
Pretty proud of the water shader because it doesn't use transparency. Because I needed it to work with my fog effects and stuff, and fog doesn't play well. Depth transparency doesn't play very well with transparent water. So this is all like, it looks transparent, but it's not. It's like a shader I made it in Shader Forge, which is another ancient plugin for Unity. But we just have a little look around, I guess. I won't show too much. Made these nice little leaves that float on the surface.
Oh, nice.
Very proud of those.
Just those like little like details. They just like make the world so much more like immersive and the whole environment. And leaves, man. I would never like thought about like leaves and shit. I would just like, I need water, and done. But the leaves make it so much more.
I have a leaf mesh that doesn't move that I use in the forest, and that really helps. It helps to have a mesh like that or some kind of thing you can kind of splat around the environment to break up the tiling texture effect. Because if you let it just be a flat plane, you'll see a lot of tiling. And so breaking it up with these little leaves, it's just a little square mesh that I made with leaves on it.
Leaves, bro.
That does a lot to break it up and add a lot of interest as well. I like putting in little details so you don't really know quite what you're looking at. Like, especially in the swamp, it's very like a lot of roots and sort of stuff like that. It's kind of creepy reaching out towards you and stuff. And these bushes and stuff are new. Yeah, the mission statement was just adding as many layers of detail as I could. make a lot of noise so that when I put an enemy in the environment, it's kind of hard to tell what it is until it's too late. I always thought that'd be interesting.
That's a good point. That's so like you work like really like with encounters and enemies and the environment. You work like hand in hand. You really like think about how the enemy and like the blending in of the enemy works with the environment. Because I mean that's
I would say
so important.
I would say that's true visually, but I think like mechanically it's all very simple. Like this is stuff I made myself with Playmaker. And I'm not a programmer. I'm not really that that versed in coding. You know, and like programming AI is just not something. Like I did an AI sort of. It sort of works, but like to say that you're going to be surprised when you like nothing's going to jump out of the ground or a tree isn't going to fall over and like a bunch of enemies are going to rush out of the roots or it's pretty basic stuff. Like I may very well create I may create some kind of event where an enemy does come from the ground and attack you, like kind of an interesting thing bursting out of the ground. But the level of like know-how is still limited. So I'm doing what I can. And it does take a while to implement these new changes, like stuff like that, for example. So,
but I think exactly like now we like circle back to the theming of like limitations, because I think it's more like it's a nice place to be so limited because you don't like over complicate like stuff with I need crafting mechanics and how about like this battle system or whatever. I think especially like back then, like in the 90s and in the beginning of like 3D games, I really liked the simplicity of getting into the game. Because I think I think it was Dying Light 2. I think it was Dying Light 2. I stopped playing the game for I think for a few months, and then I got back into it, and I forgot about basically all the like buttons and the mechanics and stuff like that because how to open up a wingsuit and a grappling hook and whatever, and how to wall run and shit like that. And I forgot about basically everything that about those mechanics and stuff because
you might as well just restart the game, right?
Exactly. And and I think simplicity is really something that helps with the immersion. I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that's a big problem with modern games is like you step away for a week and you forgot how to play and you got to restart.
Yeah.
Like tutorials, like remember in the PS3 area when tutorials were like text boxes, really intrusive, really annoying.
Oh yeah.
And it's because games were being so ambitious, yet they didn't know how to convey that information to the player like retro games did. Whereas retro games were so fundamental and so well tutorialized. Like I brought up Maximo. If you go back and play the first area of Maximo and pay attention to how they're getting across the information that needs to get across to the player, how they're doing that in such a nice, concise way, you'll see the level design in just the first area. You'll see that genius happening, especially in Mario games. Nintendo games are really good at that even now.
Oh, that's
taking
a good
like
point.
Just fundamentals and sharing them with the player. And now like people expect these complexities. And you're totally right. Like if I went back to play like I started Mad Max, the open world game. It's not a very complex game, but I started playing it and then I stopped for a while. Then I went back and I was like, I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. Like this game, like there's so much. Whereas you could stop playing an old retro game and hop back in and be like, okay, yeah, I remember this is how you jump, and this is how you punch, and I mean, there's so much expertise in those older games that we didn't notice when we were kids because it wasn't meant to be noticed. It was just meant to show us how to play. And now you're seeing people really fumbling with how to share information with the player. Man, the situation with menus with these like in-app purchases and storefronts and all that kind of stuff is just like, it's totally overkill. And yeah, I mean, you could say my game kind of brings it back to the basics in form and function, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very simple, the game. It's very easy to just, you can play from any point.
But
it was really just a matter of me understanding that I could not make a Demon Souls, Dark Souls combat system, and I wasn't even going to try. That's why it's so simple. That's why it's so basic, because I was learning to do all this stuff on the day. And yeah, I was just thinking, like, I'll never be able to compete. People are going to expect Dark Souls. I'm going to make it very clear from the start that this is not Dark Souls. You're never going to pick up a sword. Sorry. You might pick up a sword, but it's not going to be a combat system. You're literally just like fisticuffs, like barely surviving in this underworld. There may be a sword. I don't want to rule it out, but that's the combat system. The way you see it in the demo is just punching.
But I have to say, like, leaning against like those stereotypes is also a very like brave move, because like people see, oh, it's retro stylized Dark Souls, and then they get hit with like this lore heavy, like immersive, liminal like game with this romantic like touch to it and stuff. And I think that's a nice contrast, because we already have way too many like Dark Souls games and in different styles and such. So we don't need another one, to be honest.
We have a lot of Dark Souls games, and we have a lot of great Dark Souls games. So who am I to be like, I have no interest in doing that, but who am I to say like, I'll make another one? Like, I don't have any background in combat. I don't have any background in game design. I'm literally just an artist trying to piece together this image of something I had in my head once. And there's no reason to like make it something more than it is. Also, I'm a little tired of it at this point, and I just want to finish it. I've kind of finished putting mechanics into the game. I think we have enough mechanics to work with now. I've introduced new mechanics in the second area, and from that point, we're just going to be kind of using stuff we learned in the first and second area throughout the rest of the game, and hopefully that's enough for most people who are interested in what this is.
We have another question in the chat. We have two in Portuguese, and
let me look.
Yeah, maybe you answer them first.
I have to like refresh this thing here.
I really need to learn more Portuguese.
Como conhecer jogo brasileiro? Veja em canal gringo. He's saying how to get to know a Brazilian game. Go to a foreign channel. I imagine he's talking about your channel being Austrian, but somehow having a American game made in Brazil. I don't know. There's some authenticity there for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just for him, I'm already like, that's my goal. I'm learning Portuguese, and I'm getting into it, and I'm listening to like Portuguese like YouTubers and stuff.
Awesome. Way to go, man! Like,
yeah, I
was put in the frying pan. I had to learn Portuguese. You're doing it just for
the lols. Yeah. That's no, awesome. I really want to do it like to be inclusive. I want to like be able to like do tutorials or like at least explain stuff in Blender and such in Portuguese. Cool. That's my big goal, because like I see so much like love and interest from Brazil. So I mean, the least thing I can do is like trying to like learn the language and help with like the new gained like language. So
awesome.
Yeah,
that's so nice of you. That's so admirable.
I mean, I have nothing left to do. I have maybe at least 20 years left on this planet, so why not use it to learn something new?
It's really nice. Yeah, and who better a group of people than Brazilians? Because honestly, like, it brings a tear to my eye how passionate and just kind and good-hearted and just fun-loving Brazilians are. Like, they have their ways for sure, but it's such a welcoming like country to visit. Especially, I guess, like, I'm a little anomaly here, just being a little blonde boy walking around. So like maybe I get a pass in some ways, but yeah, truly, like, you have to hug a Brazilian when you come here because it's just the way.
Oh, nice.
So intimate. I'm so endeared to Brazilian people. They're just so like, I don't even know. Just so.
It sounds like
they do.
Yeah, it sounds like they get like.
And also like very hardworking.
Really?
Like laid back, but very hardworking. Yeah, like very convicted, but also at the same time somehow very laid back. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
because
I
like
get that
that
impression from some people
was
I've
my
met.
impression, like a very like laid back like attitude and like mindset and stuff.
Yeah,
But
but
I
like
think
so. Yeah,
I'm projecting
people
also
I
a lot
know.
of like Spanish culture, I think, because like I know a few people from Spain, and the least like I mean, they're not like hardworking in my opinion. It's like
Oh.
very laid back. It's more like very like yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the culture there is more family oriented, and when you
Yeah,
look at
exactly.
Western culture,
Like,
it's oriented towards
yeah.
work, and I think that's to a fault. Even I think Americans in particular work too hard, whereas like
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
A Brazilian guy, he'll spend time like during dinner,
Yeah.
to
I
have the meal, do
exactly.
the cooking, and whereas like an American guy, they're eating McDonald's and going straight back
Yeah.
to work. I think here they have the tradition of having a nap after lunch, and I've actually started doing that as well.
Yeah.
I think that's Brazilian as well as like middle America or middle, what is it? Yeah, like Mexican and Latin American. That's kind of like a sort of a way. I don't know,
Yeah.
because you
But I
always see
mean,
people sleeping after lunch or whatever on in the shade or whatever.
it sounds actually like pretty like healthy and stuff, and fun, because like from I recently like heard a very like nice comment, and it was like um work life balance
Yeah.
is like a wrong term. It should be just like life balance. Like the
Yeah,
word
people. I mean,
work.
work is
Yeah, work life balance. What's that?
exactly.
Just like life balance and like done.
Work-life balance is putting work up there with living life. And I don't
Exactly,
think they're
exactly.
like work is a part of what you do when you live. It's just a
Yeah.
part of our culture as like because we're part of society, right? People take it very seriously and really kill themselves over it. And I don't think it's necessarily the right direction.
Yeah.
Like at what cost, So
Yeah.
anywho, let's just
Okay.
relax. Like these guys here, these guys are just relaxing here. Can you
Yeah,
still see my screen? I've been like zooming around the
yeah.
map.
Yeah. Just
Okay,
like
good.
having a moment, a cozy moment with the boys.
Yep. Just hanging out,
Just literally like hanging out. That guy's definitely like hanging out. So
That looks pretty cool.
back to the chat. Salator, did you talk already about the shaders and how it looks so good? And now that you said that you are not a programmer, I'm curious as to what was your approach to make this game look this way.
Yeah, I knew about cutout materials. If you look at any one of these materials, we'll just look at this, I guess. The texture. Well, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's go back here. The texture is made with transparency, like usual, but the material is only using clip transparency. So let me open that up in here. You can see this is my like generic transparent shader with texture, and it goes into this opacity clip channel. This is Shader Forge for anyone who's unfamiliar. It's a node-based scripting plugin for Unity to make shaders, and it's old and it's no longer being supported, but it works just as well in older Unities. So I'm still using it. And the clip opacity channel, it gives it that like, let me close this. I can zoom in on the actual root here. It gives it that either fully opaque or transparent look. And I kind of knew that I wanted to go with that because of it's less resource intensive and there's less issues with transparent clipping and transparent peeling, I think it's called. Basically with transparency in a game engine, like even to this day, game engines have a hard time with transparency. And that is because of the way the pixels are rendered. Basically, when you have something transparent, it has to render twice, I think, something like that. when you see through a transparent object, it's rendering the background and it's also processing the pixels in front and rendering that. And it's very unoptimized. That's why in a lot of games when something explodes, it gets laggy because you're seeing all those transparent particles. In this game, I forgoed all that. I forwent all that and just said, I'm just going to do clip transparency so I can still use transparent masks to get these special details like rib cages and stuff without that challenge, that bottleneck of actual transparency. And I don't really see a reason in an organic environment like this to use anything but, because transparency doesn't really exist in nature outside of like light scattering under a surface. Like you don't see glass in nature, you don't see plastic in nature. Those are things that are largely transparent.
That's a good point.
You just don't. Outside of maybe bugs, they have like transparent wings and stuff. But for the most part, there's no need. And even the water in this game is, like I said, it's not transparent. It just has a depth. It's using a parallax depth effect to give it that effect of transparency. And yeah, so was that the question? I'm getting lost now. But yeah, that's that. I mean, I make the shaders to accommodate for that. There's a lot of different shaders. I have a whole library of shaders right here that I've made. Let's see, shaders. They're all my of whatever shaders. So of diffuse double-sided emissive, of fire, of vertex offset transmission, double-sided. You know, like I have all these made so they're at the ready. But they're all largely, if there's transparency, they use this type of transparency, where your pixels are either fully opaque or transparent, completely transparent. It helps just make things easier because you're still dealing with fully opaque, and that pipeline is just more optimized and it's easier to work with for things, for example, like the fog that I have in the game. It doesn't fight with it. Like with transparency, the fog tends to fight with things like that. I have like a volumetric lighting system in here too that could have trouble with that. Ambient occlusion post-processing also has difficulty with that. That's like the dark shadows that I have. That's all a post-process that I have in the game that give intersecting geometry, that nice shadowing. You'd never see that in a retro game, but I think it adds a lot to have it in there.
Yeah.
Right? It breaks up that edge there. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say about shaders in general, so I won't go into it. That's the main thing is the cutout transparency.
Yeah, that's really like
textures.
your style, I think. It's just like the it's really something that you like made your own, I think. Because I've never seen like whole projects that like utilize this in this like scale as you do. And yeah, and as you like mentioned, it benefits like the performance and such. So
yeah, and you'll find that when you make a retro style game, you get the benefit of of having a lot of overhead or what is it, underhead, whatever. Like you have a lot of room to breathe when it comes to your post processing and whatever else. Like I doubt my game is very well optimized as far as programming because I'm using a plugin, but even still, it runs fairly well. It's a pretty small project. Because everything is low poly, everything's like, low resolution and pretty minimalistic as far as post-processing.
I think we answered the question. Salator just said, thanks for the insight and a lot of like heart emojis. Great job in making it so look good. Oh man, yeah. So I think I only have like one last question before we like end the stream, and that would be: do you have like any advice for people that want to become a game dev, a solo developer like you? How to start out, for example?
How to start out being solo. Honestly, if you have a day job, it just comes out to finding that balance where your free time is and committing to working. Obviously, not obviously, I shouldn't say that because nothing's obvious, but one of the biggest issues is turning a profit, getting noticed. with your brand new project that no one's ever heard of, right? Just getting your foot in the door, getting people interested, getting wish lists, getting exposure as a solo indie developer is, I think, the biggest task. And I think that's because a lot of games, they have to go for minimalistic styles because they're working on their own. That's the biggest hurdle. And unfortunately, I brought it up and I don't have advice for it. And I think that's just something to consider, really, is just like, you need to kind of, what your angle is going to be is up to you. But my angle ended up being social media, like just getting consistent on social media and finding an audience, having people find my game was very important. Like, Luke, you found my project because of the project.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that's something that a solo developer really needs. And having a conversation around the project, having people who are interested in it, that's kind of a nice fuel, at least for me, to keep working. Because that's another big part of it, is finding motivation. And they say don't work on motivation because that's the limited resource. Find that discipline also, because you can always work motivated, but you can't always work when you're not motivated. So getting a good discipline down, that's why I like the regimenting, or like the scheduling. That helps me personally. Just getting a schedule down for just picking away, but don't give up on it. That's the issue. And don't wait for someone to tell you to start. Don't wait for a tutorial to tell you to start. Just go for it. Start making. That's the only way you'll learn. Like this, I made from, believe it or not, this game was nothing once. It was literally the first little box that I started modeling. That's where you'll start too. And don't be intimidated, because it'll eventually become your game that you have in your mind. And yeah, don't let that discourage you, and always find time to just at least think about the game. If you can't have time to work on it, but at least touch on it mentally, and you'll eventually have created something, and you'll be able to start spreading the news about it and finding fulfillment that way.
Great. Just like you said it, like, great. That's really like motivational. Think about it, just do it, and I don't be afraid to make mistakes and so on. I mean, so I'm really happy that like you guys all like tuned in and such, and stick with us during this pretty like long stream. We just like planned 1 hour.
Oh yeah.
But
that's okay. I like talking.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty like chill like situation for us guys. And so please guys, like, check out his Patreon. It's like the direct like source to support him as a solo developer and his game. And also like like you mentioned, like the wish list, the game, but we can not like dance around the fact that like Patreon is the most important aspect right now for
I'm trying
for you.
to at least cover my life expenses through Patreon. And then after that, I can start saving for the all important audio and music for finishing the game. So my goal is to get above $500 a month. That's US dollars, whatever the conversion rate is, because that'll be like me paying myself for working on the game. After that, I will just be saving whatever extra is. Like if I start making more on the Patreon, all that extra will be saved and be put into the funds for outsourcing the music, because I have a musician who I really want to go back to. If you've listened to the game, you know that the music is incredible. I really want to go back to that musician and that sound effects engineer, because they've been really great for the project. And honestly, I owe probably most, well, at least half, of the success of the game's presentation to that. Obviously very atmospheric, very important to have good sound effects in a game, and I don't like that. Importance is definitely not lost on me, so I want to make sure I can get them back on, and just see where that goes. So having awesome time on Patreon right now, just being able to share my thoughts weekly as I develop the great devlog outlet. So any support there is very much welcome. And I hope you can also benefit equally just by being around, because I'll be sharing my experience, and also tutorials and all that sort of thing.
So, I mean, sounds like a deal. That's a good That's a good deal, a nice like trade offer. So did you plan in your like Shark Tank proposal right there, or
No, I did not.
just from your
But
heart?
that's a good place for it. Yeah, no, I mean
Yeah.
it comes from a very true place, and so it's easy for me just to talk about.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'm definitely
So
just make
I
this game happen.
really have to thank you. I really enjoyed the time we just like
Yeah,
shared.
thank you. It's been awesome.
Thank you, chat. You guys have been like amazing as always. And yeah, let's just straight up end it right here. Check out check out Acron Bringer's Patreon, and yeah, love you guys. See you in the next one. Bye.
Obrigado. Ciao.
Okay.